Welcome to Wire Sports Podcast. I am your handsome host, Gene Walzak, and below me on the little tripod tonight, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Shally.
What's up?
What's popping? Brand new whip just hopping. To my right, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, the choke artists themselves from the Cleveland Browns, College Cuttrell.
Fair enough. All that's warranted. Can't complain.
Coming in hot.
So, Cottrell, I need you to do me a favor. Tell the listeners what we're getting into tonight and open us up, my friend.
All right, so we got
that sounds a little weird.
we got a big show on deck for you guys, man. We got MLB playoffs. They're already full swing. You know, some upsets, I'd say, from the wild card round. So we're gonna go over that, break down how we see the ALDS, NODS going on. Then we're going to go NFL. Some big games this week. Recap what happened last week, of course. Then we're going to go to college football. By far, this is the best week of college football that we've had so far in the season. We'll go over all the big games, give you our picks. And then we got NBA. NBA starts next Tuesday before we have our next show. So we got to give you what awards we got, who we think's going to win it all, who we think, gets to the final. So that's going to be a fun one. And then we got Mount Rushmore. We got Mount Rushmore with Carolina going up against Atlanta. Those two are NFC South rivals, and we will see who takes it all there. And then we end the show with "You Got to Be Kidding Me." It's a big one. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go.
We got ton. My NBA Finals projection is so absurd that I feel like that I'm either gonna look like the biggest fool or I'm gonna look like the GOAT. So we'll find that out when we get there. But we start with MLB playoffs, man. How about them Phillies sweeping the Cardinals and taking game one down in the ATL to knock those Bravos off? Hey, it's a whole new series. We win the night. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Don't let us win the night. And the Guardians made it to the second round. Cottrell's Guardians make it to the second round. Nobody predicted them to be in the playoffs. And here they are in the second round. So we got Guardians, Mariners, Yankees, Guardians versus Yankees, Mariners versus Astros, Phillies versus the Braves, and the Dodgers, who just look so unbeatable right now, versus the Padres. Opening week, let's recap what happened in the wild card round. Our baseball analyst, Scholastic Shally, start us off. What did you think of the wild card weekend, the new format? I loved it.
I definitely love the best of three way more than the one and done thing. I think you make these guys play all year long to qualify for the playoffs, and have it come down to one game, I think is a tad much for me. So I definitely like the best of three over the weekend, stay in one city, no travel. You give both teams a shot to win. And, you figure out, over the course of three games who deserves to move on. I thought the Phillies looked great in St. Louis. They had timely hitting. They got great pitching from Wheeler and Nola. And I was a little surprised by St. Louis's pitching matchups, to be quite honest with you. Not seeing Wainwright, not seeing Jack Flaherty. They went with Quintana and Marquez. I was a little surprised. Both good pitchers, but Wainwright's been there, done that a million times. And if Jack Flaherty's healthy, he's their best pitcher. But hey, worked out good for us. The thing that, I said was kind of the key to that, it came true. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt do not have good numbers. In fact, they have very poor numbers against Wheeler and Nola. And they kept them both in the yard and kept them in check in both games. And, we rolled through. The Guardians and Tampa Bay series was crazy.
Let's park on the Phillies, and then we'll go over each one. The first thing I want to park on is I criticized the Cardinals starting pitching staff just like you did, but it didn't seem that was the issue. The issue, Quintana, they had a shutout through 8 innings. The Phillies scored 6 runs in the 9th. And I think the thing that really screwed up St. Louis is the fact that their closer injured himself, blister on his finger, one of the last few games of the season, and they threw him in his first opportunity for a 5-out save. He was wild. They didn't pull him out. I was thrilled with that, but they should have had the hook on him a lot earlier than they did. Am I right?
No, you're not wrong. I just wouldn't have put him in that early. I think if that is, and honestly, I think in the first game, I think they pulled Quintana out too early. I know they did it for a matchup reason. I'd probably try to get him through that inning if it's me, if I'm managing. But yeah, the ninth inning was crazy. And it's one of those things where, low scoring. You kind of, teams almost get lulled into sleep, and then all of a sudden, everything the Phillies did worked out for them. You had a weird, awkward swing from Segura that just finds its way through the infield somehow, and the floodgates just opened up. And then game two was kind of, I don't want to say it was routine, but it was clinical, and that was it. I mean, and I think a lot of the Phillies fans were disappointed they finished in the 6th seed. To me personally, I wanted St. Louis in the first round. I thought that was the best matchup for us. Get our feet underneath us, get out there and play and get a couple wings and get confidence. And you've already seen that spill over a little bit into the second series, which we'll talk about in a minute. But overall, very happy for the Phillies. And, again, man, it's, you see it in every sport. You get in the playoffs and you get hot. Who knows?
Anything can happen. And speaking of anything can happen, let me pass it to Cottrell. The Guardians sweep Tampa Bay in a series in which Tampa Bay scored, was it 1 run in 23 innings?
Correct.
That's absurd. 24. Yeah, 24. 1 run in 24 innings. Like, that can't happen. But that speaks volumes to the Guardians pitching staff. J-Ram with the huge 2-run homer in game 1. That looked like a pop-up, man. That guy's got so much power. It didn't even look like he got that and went over the right center field fence. And then game 2, as soon as they took the lead, it's almost like you just knew Tampa Bay couldn't score. They just couldn't score. Your thoughts, Cottrell?
Yeah, so that series was very interesting to watch. I think that with these two teams, they play very similarly with the small ball. They don't hit for power, not many home runs between the two teams. But, game 1, McClanahan versus Bieber was a true ace versus ace matchup, and we saw that. The one thing that I do want to give the Guardians credit for is that I thought after they went down 1-0, I didn't think it was going to be tough for them to get a run back, but the offense really hadn't been going at all at that point, and they responded in the bottom half of the inning and put up, J-Ram hit the 2-run home run, and then the bullpen handled business. So I definitely want to give them credit for, not being afraid of that moment. And, and I said last week, if you find a way to take down McClanahan, you're going to give yourself a great shot in the series, and that's what they did. Now, game 2, on the other hand, I wasn't expecting them to necessarily pitch a 15-inning shutout, but the fact that happened, and you went through their whole bullpen, and you finally hit a home run off the guy who spent so many years in Cleveland, and Corey Kluber, who was our ace for all those years. It was just kind of one of those full circle moments, and especially for a guy like Oscar Gonzalez, who's young guy, kind of been struggling at the plate, but he just, found some resilience there, hit it off a guy who we deeply love in Cleveland. So I was surprised by how the games happened, but ultimately not surprised by the result.
Okay. Well, let's move on to another series. The Toronto Blue Jays versus the Seattle Mariners. Seattle wins game 1, jumps on them, wins the game pretty handily. It looks like it's going to be 1-1 headed for a game 3 because Toronto is beating the crap out of Seattle. And then anything can happen in postseason baseball. Anything can happen in postseason baseball. So the Seattle Mariners come back from, 8-1, 7-1 to come back and win the game. in the bottom or top of the ninth inning. They took the lead and then they locked it down in the bottom of the ninth inning. And Seattle's moved on. Seattle almost, I'll tell you right now, Seattle had Houston beat last night until Robbie Ray threw one of the worst pitches I could ever imagine to Yordan Alvarez, who I don't know if that ball landed yet, but they had Houston reeling last night. That lineup hits. The Seattle Mariners are hot and they're raking, and they're going against the best team in baseball, in my opinion, in the Houston Astros. And it might be a very good 5-game series. Seattle's going to get a home playoff game. I'm sure they're thrilled about that. Bill, how did you see that series?
No, I mean, it was that series was kind of, in a weird way, it was kind of backwards to me. Seattle was a team that's built kind of on pitching and defense, has gone through spurts where they struggle to score, versus the Toronto team who, we all know about their lineup with Baby Bichette and Vlad and George Springer and all those guys. And their pitching has actually been pretty good down the stretch after they went through a lull in the middle of the year. And then you got into the playoff series and all hell broke loose. Seattle wins game 1, and then Toronto, like you said, is up 9-1 in game 2. I turned it off because I'm just like, this is going to be the game where it ends up 13-1, and Seattle puts their third string catcher in the pitch and to save all their arms for the next day. And then, 20 minutes later, I look, it's 9-6. I turn it back on. They have the bases loaded. They're still hitting. They get it to 9-9, and they pulled out in extra innings, which was crazy to me that, Toronto got good starting pitching in that series, and their bullpen just imploded.
I think the turning point in that game, it was when Bichette and Springer ran into each other. And, Bichette, Springer obviously left the game injured, and Bichette, I don't think looked the same. I think they both really hurt each other. But that was the bases loaded. Everybody scored on that play.
Yep. It's playoff baseball is it's like every other sport. Everything matters in playoff baseball. You score 9 runs in a Major League Baseball playoff game, you have to win the game. I don't care what happens. You're up 9-1, you have to win that game. But all the credit to, Seattle. I mean, if you're going to say anybody looks like the Phillies in the American League, I would say it's Seattle. Team's got good starting pitching 1 through 3. I don't think their lineup's as good as ours, but they're the team that's playing with a ton of confidence right now. They're like you said, they went into Houston and they knocked Justin Verlander all over that park last night. I am highly critical of them bringing in Robbie Ray in that spot. I don't get it. I mean, listen, if you don't play baseball, it's a little difficult to understand, but the mentality of being a starting pitcher versus a closer in that situation are night and day. It's the sun and the moon. They're not the same.
He threw him in inning 1, first pitch of the at bat, fastball over as get accustomed to the game.
Yeah,
Yordan Alvarez with as the winning run.
Thigh high,
wild.
Yeah. Thigh high, inner half. He's lucky he didn't, Alvarez didn't hit that ball through the roof, honestly.
I thought he did.
Yeah, I will say though, the one part about that game that kind of worries me for Seattle moving forward is how young they are. Something like that happens. You play well enough to win the game, and you give the best team, at least in the AL, your best shot, and you still find a way to lose the game with your starting pitcher, your ace on the mound at the time. So I'm curious to see how they kind of bounce back from that, and if they do, because I can easily see that going one of two ways. It's either they kind of just like woe is me, and then they just go through the motions the rest of the series, and Houston moves on easy. Or it could be a situation where they, build around that and they're like, hey, we got to have each other's back. That's one game. It doesn't define us, and go on to win the series, because they did play well in that game. But with a young team, I just don't know how they're going to respond to that.
Yeah, you're gonna learn everything you want to know about Seattle in game 2. Cachel's 100% right. If they could steal one in Houston and go back, Robbie Ray will start game 3. I'd probably I would assume you get McCullers for Houston. They haven't announced anything past tonight. Actually, are they off tonight like the Yankees are?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
both American League series are off tonight.
Dodgers play tonight.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, man. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if Seattle wins tomorrow night, going back to Seattle knowing they should be up 2-0. And you absolutely, to Gene's point, if you don't think the Dodgers are the best team in the baseball, then Houston's 1A. and you had the chance to have them down 2-0. Hate seeing JP Crawford out there just killing. Was against that when we traded him, but that's another conversation for another day. But he's thriving out in Seattle. Very good player. He hit a big home run the other night. But that's going to be a very good series. So it'll be fun to watch that and the series we're going to talk about in a second tomorrow night.
Well, the most interesting series in the first round to me was the Padres-Mets, the only one that went 3 games. Game 1, Padres ran through the Mets. Max Scherzer got lit up, home run after home run. Game 2, Jacob deGrom battled, did the best job he could do, got them to the bullpen, and the Mets took Game 2. But the interesting part was Game 3, Joe Musgrove. And one of the most interesting parts of Joe Musgrove dominated in that game. And I think the most interesting part of it was, I want to know what your thought process is on Buck Showalter asking for a check on Musgrove in the middle of the game in the 6th inning. I thought it was Bush League. I thought it was very sour grapes. And I think that if it turned something up, it would have had a lot more merit. But in reality, it was a very desperate measure. And you could see Manny Machado laughing at their dugout. I think it was a very poor sportsmanship move. At that point, you're down 4-0 at that point. It ended up being 6-0. But I don't like the way they did it. I really don't. I don't like that they did it. Maybe it's just me because I'm so jaded by the cheating scandals that have happened in baseball that I don't want to think that this kid is coming home, throwing a shutout, a gem, having amazing stuff, and that it could be cheating. But then they check him. He's got nothing on him. And I think Musgrove handled it well. I mean, he only made one real gesture to the Mets bench when he did this. But other than that, I thought the Padres handled it well. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's, I 100% agree. I think it's Bush League. I get what he's trying to do, though. You're doing that in hopes of, obviously, like you said, if you watch that game, he was in the zone. He was dealing. He was locked in. At that point, you're trying to upset that rhythm, that concentration he has. Anything like that, you hope you get him too worked up. Coming back out in the next inning, and maybe he starts to try to overthrow the ball. Leaves a couple pitches up. Anything to have the Mets get a couple hits, maybe an extra base hit a solo home run, something to get the crowd back into it. Anything to give him a jump start. I think that's what he's trying to accomplish there. Again, I don't agree, with the way he went about it, but that's 100% what he's trying to do there. Like you said, Musgrove got back on the bump and handled it like a pro, and pitched, just as well the next inning, and that was kind of it. I was kind of, I don't want to say I was surprised, but I had a chuckle with the Mets just rolled over, man. I mean, I just don't. They had a 101 win season. The collapse down the stretch wasn't really as bad as people make it out to be, just because Atlanta played so well. And then you got in the playoffs and you lost at home to a Padres team, but there just was no emotion. There was no heart. There was no
I watched all 3 of those games. I don't think that there was no emotion. I think that who's the center fielder that played his ass off? He batted 8th for them. Who was it?
For who? The Mets?
For the Padres. No. For the Pod, he made an absurd catch that I don't think that. I think that maybe 4 or 5 major league center fielders get to that ball it was a 4-0 game. It could have been 4-2. It was an absurd catch. I got to give all the credit in the world to the way the Padres played. I don't think the Mets rolled over. I think the emotion was there. Pete Alonso hit the home run in Game 2, smoked the ball off Musgrove, one of the only hits. And then
I'm speaking solely about Game 3. I thought they were fine Game 2. It just, to me, like I said, I feel like the end of that game, there was no air in that stadium whatsoever. I never had any feeling that the momentum was going to change. The crowd was into it or anything like that. They were just kind of dead. And for a New York crowd, that's kind of embarrassing for a do or die game.
I get it. So let's talk about this round. The Padres are going to play the Dodgers, and I don't know if that series goes 4. I think that the best chance for the Padres to win a game is Game 2. Yu Darvish versus Clayton Kershaw, and I think if they go down 0-2, I think it's curtains. Your thoughts on the series, and then we'll go backwards and going over the previews. Cottrell.
I got Dodgers in 3. I don't think it goes 4. I do think the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, or at least coming into the playoffs. That's kind of where I was at before the playoffs started. And I just think that Dodgers, they're just too loaded, man. And give San Diego all the credit in the world, how they handled losing Tatis for the rest of the season. But I think that run stops here. And I think you're going to have a lot of Padres fans that are probably going to be at his head like, hey, maybe we could have a chance at beating the Dodgers if you were playing right now. But it shouldn't fall on his shoulders. I think the Dodgers are just that special right now. And I think they're just going to move on.
I do think the funniest thing about the Mets series before I move on is they have the memes of Mets 2022. Our closer had a cool theme song.
Yep. I just say because Paul just hopped in the chat and he actually sent that to me before I saw it anywhere else. So it's hysterical. Yeah. But I mean, I'm going to disagree a little bit with Cottrell. I mean, some of this falls at Tatis's feet. So I don't think he's blameless in this at all. I mean,
not blameless, but I don't think if he's there, they win the series.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I mean, listen, the biggest issue with the Padres is, I mean, you look at the season series, I think it was like 13-4 or something. It's very lopsided. The Dodgers just have their number right now. And that's just, that's all the credit in the world for the Dodgers, that lineup, the pitching staff, who, I mean, if you really think about it, it could be even crazier that, and then they don't have their one right now, Walker Buehler, who's out for the year. You got Urias. I think they were very, very smart in pitching Clayton Kershaw at home in front of that crowd because it'll be jumping tonight. I agree with Gene. I think maybe it goes 4. I think maybe Padres win game 3 when they get back home to Petco. And then I think Dodgers close it out in 4. Just a really tough matchup. It doesn't say it's nothing negative against the Padres. The Dodgers are just that good, man. I mean, you literally have guys in their lineup 1 through 8 that I think all have 20 home runs. It's just they can get you at any time. They have guys hit gaps. They can all run. It's just really not fair. And you factor it with their defense, their pitching. They're just it's going to take something special to beat them. And that's where we're at with them.
Future Philly Trey Turner led off the game with a home run. No, I'm just kidding. But stars the Dodgers scoring with a home run. But I know you. I seen the Twitter comment with the Stott and Pagine and get a picture.
Listen,
but
I don't think
we'll get into that in the offseason. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm gonna just throw my quick tidbit on it. I don't think you go full in on Trey Turner because I think the Angels are gonna put Mike Trout on the market.
All right. Well,
I agree with that as well. Stuff. We'll talk about that in the offseason now.
Let's stay in the NL. You got the Phillies Braves. Phillies jump on game 1. I have a lot of thoughts. Like, first of all, Nick Castellanos earned his contract game 1. Like,
shut up, baby.
That's exactly what we wanted from him. That's why you paid him that much money. But I still, maybe it's just me being critical. Maybe it's just me being a crazy person, but I don't like that Zach Eflin is now our makeshift closer. He hasn't closed games all year, and we're just throwing him in the 9th inning of playoff games. Like, all right, Zach, you got pretty good stuff. Just close. Like, I don't agree with that, man. I really didn't. And I'm glad that Max Fried saved his worst game of the season for yesterday, Paul. I'm glad. But I think the thing that really, really stood out to me was, number 1, Ranger Suarez had a good start. Did what he needed to do. But number 2, some of the biggest outs of the entire game, Sir Anthony Dominguez slowed that Braves team down. 2 innings, scoreless ball, 0 hits, 0 walks. He's the best reliever on the – and I would love to say our prized pickup in the offseason, David Robertson, would be in there, but he hurt himself celebrating Bryce Harper's home run. Absolute joke. I'm pissed off about that, but I'm happy the Phillies got a win. Bryce Harper seems to be getting in a rhythm. Nick Castellanos hitting the ball well, Gene Segura. And, man, if you told me that the Phillies would have a shortstop rotation and their 8-9 hole would come up huge for him in the playoffs, I don't know if I would agree with you, but it has.
Well, I mean, who you talking about? Stott and who? Segura?
Sosa.
Yeah, Sosa. Yeah, I mean,
Sosa.
Sosa's
Plays
gonna
balls off.
he's gonna play. He's gonna play against lefties, and Stott's gonna start against righties. But to go back to the Phillies, yeah. So there's a couple things for me. One, you touched on Ranger Suarez. Quite honestly, that was the most important start of this series for us to go out and be able to steal that game against Atlanta's ace. He wasn't dominant, but the kid battled his ass off.
Correct.
Got out when he needed to. Got out of everything, and gave him a chance to win. That's all you could ask for. That's all you wanted Ranger to do was go out there, give you hope. Hopefully get in a perfect world, get through 5 or 6 innings. And hand the ball off to the bullpen. Didn't quite make that far. I think he went like 4 and a third, something like that. But he got two bases loaded jams with nothing. He went out and battled. Love that start for him. And now the series is really set up for us. Wheeler's going to go tonight. They're going to start. I think they're starting at 7:30. They decided, and then Noel's going to pitch Game 3 back at the bank on Friday. So we'll see. I mean, it's in our hands right now. The second thing, like you said. Castellanos showing up, for whatever you want to say, pretty much been a doormat all year. Been terrible. Really hasn't shown any of the glimpses of the guy that we knew we were getting. But if he's going to do it in the playoffs, then so freaking be it. Had a huge game yesterday. And then the third thing, which I don't think can be stated enough in my opinion. Well, I mean, you could say, roughly the attendance of the Atlanta Braves fans that were there, but we won't get into that again. You got to give Mickey Thompson all the credit in the world, man. You just do. And I'll say it for this reason. That team completely turned around, when they made the switch. He got them into the playoffs. But the biggest thing I could tell you that makes a difference in that dugout right now is they are all 100% on the same page. And they're all 100% bought into what he wants to do. You have Bryce Harper in the box bunting. Schwarber was trying
And
to
that was
bunt.
huge. Because he moved over JT and then Castellanos drove him in.
You have to be able to play small ball when you are away in the Major League Baseball playoffs to win games. If you have your best hitter, not only your best hitter, your best player on the team getting in the box saying, I'll bunt to get a guy over so we can manufacture a run, that is a dangerous team because that is a team that is all on the same page. They're all pulling the same way, and they're doing anything they can to scratch a run and try to win a ball game. That's a dangerous baseball team. You get Nick Castellanos starting to hit all of a sudden. You get Rhys Hoskins out of this damn slump, and God forbid Schwarber wakes up. You don't want to play them right now. You just don't. Rangers not the best number 3, but you don't want to go into a series knowing you're going to face Nola, Wheeler twice. And then you're going to have to face Wheeler or Suarez at some point, too. The only gripe I have is the same one Gene did. Sir Anthony Dominguez has to be our closer. Our 8-9 has to be Jose Alvarado, hands the ball to Sir Anthony in the 9th. That's what it has to be. Those are our 2 best pitchers out of the bullpen. Mix in Eflin and Brad Hand and all those guys. If I said Brogdon in one more goddamn game, I'm going to lose my mind. And that's what it's got to be. That's got to be your 8-9. Like you said, man, he went through the heart of that lineup, bang, 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 nothing. And see where we go, man. It's
also if you're not going to start Syndergaard and Gibson, they can give you an inning of relief. They can be your relief instead of Brogdon. You don't need to see that.
Gibson's not even on the roster, but yeah, I agree with you with Noah.
Even great, better.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But let's move to the AL. I got the Phillies in 4. You guys want to give me a prediction?
I also have Phillies in 4.
Same.
It's funny. Before the series, I probably would have took Atlanta in 4, but I think Philly winning Game 1 was a pivotal swing.
I hope they win tonight. I think they'll lose tonight. I think they win Game 3, and then they take it home in 4. Paul's got Braves in 5. You're a Braves fan. I understand that. We're Phillies fans, so maybe that's a little bit homerish, but we got Homer Simpson on our side. Speaking of Homer Simpson, his Guardians played against the Yankees last night. The Guardians lost 4-1. Garrett Cole pitched well. Big at bat for Anthony Rizzo, 2-run homer. But with that being said, What do the Guardians have to do to win this series, Cottrell? Do you give them a shot? I know they didn't have their one or two pitcher on the bump last night. Do you give the Guardians a shot to beat the Yankees, or do you think the evil empire just rolls over?
I mean, I definitely give him a shot. I think that first game, we threw out Cal Control, he's been our consistent number 3 all season. I believe he was 15-5 on the season. And I mean, he really only had a couple mistakes out there. Like, I know Rizzo hit a homer, and then he gave up a homer earlier on
To
in
a
the game.
9-hole hitter. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of those two, I know they ended up scoring 4 runs, but outside of those two, the other one was unearned. So, outside of those 2 home runs, I thought they played well. The problem is that this isn't the Rays series. You're not going to get by scoring 1 or 2 runs and winning these games. As great as Bieber's going to be, and as great as I think Tristan McKenzie can be, you're not going to squeak by the Yankees by scoring 1 or 2 runs, and you can't bank on that going forward. So I think our hitters, they have to find a way to wake up. I think it'll be, an advantage for us in game 2, throwing Bieber out there, and I'm fully expecting him to pitch a gem. I think they can win that game, and at that point, it's anybody series, because it's going back to Cleveland. You get 2 games, and of course you want to win both games in Cleveland, but if you win one, you probably get Bieber back on the bump game 5, and at that point it's anybody's ball game. So of course you want to win before that, but I think it very much has the potential to go to 5 games, because I think we're going to get an A game out of Bieber in game 2. But with that said, I'm rolling with the Yankees. I got the Yankees in 5, and it's obviously I'm rooting for the Guardians, but I just think that Yankees team is going to be too much.
I got the Yankees in 4. Shally, how concerned should Guardians fans be that they've only scored 4 runs in 3 games?
So, I mean, we touched on it a little bit when we talked about the Guardians of the Rays series, how it was low scoring. They were 2 of the top 4 teams in baseball of actively putting the ball in play all the time. That's what they do. You're not going to strike them out a lot. Like, you're going to have to field the ball and play defense to get outs. Both teams hit the contact very well. The problem with Cleveland is they're one of I think they're bottom 5 in home runs and
I believe we're dead last, actually.
You might be. So I didn't want to say that and have it be wrong, but I know you're down there somewhere. You're down there in home runs and slugging. They are a team that's going to beat you by hitting singles and doubles. And then again, you hope the games, J-Ram maybe pops one or, something like that. But even him, J-Ram for the most part is a huge doubles, and, he'll hit like 30, 35 home runs, but he also hits over 300. He's a great hitter. They're not built like that. On the flip side of that, the only thing that might give you a little bit of hope is the Yankees are a lot of boom or bust. They don't move people along well. They are not about the bunting life or scratching out a run. They get in the box and they try to hit the ball out of the stadium. If you can, pitch away from contact and keep the ball off the barrel, you could beat them. I agree with you. Tonight's huge for you guys. I think you have to split. I'm ultimately going to side with the Yankees in 4. I would love for you guys to beat them. I mean, there's no
same.
There's no hiding my love, my lack of love and my pure joy and hatred for them watching them lose. So I hope you guys win. I just think over the course of a series, I think the Yankees will get just enough pitching, score just enough runs to scratch out a series victory. And then they'll move on. So I will take the Yankees in 4 begrudgingly, but it's one of those. I hope I'm dead wrong.
I feel you. Let's move on to the last series in the AL. I have Houston. Winning that series in 3. I think it's a sweep over Seattle. But you guys want to give it? We've already kind of talked about the series, so I kind of wanted to get your just predictions on it.
I'll also go with Houston in the sweep, just because of what I brought up earlier. I just think it's a situation, man. Those young guys are gonna just kind of be overcome with how they lost game 1, and I just don't know how they'll rebound from that. And I think Houston's gonna feed off that, and we're gonna see the reason why they were the number 1 team in the AL. So I like Houston to roll.
I am going to disagree with you guys a little bit. I think it's the Astros in 4. I think either they win tonight with Gilbert on the mound, or they win Game 3 when they go back to Seattle with Robbie Ray on the mound. I think they steal one of them. Houston probably closes them out. I think there'll be close games again. Though again, I think Seattle's kind of like the American League Phillies. I think they're confident, and like we mentioned, a couple minutes ago, I think you'll see all you need to know with how they react when they play tomorrow night. If they come out and they look super tight all of a sudden, or like Cottrell said, the woe is me, and they're down on themselves right away, then they're in a lot of trouble. But I think they'll fight. Like I said, I mean, I don't think anybody is feeling more confident than Seattle than maybe the Phillies right now, and the way they're playing and the way they're approaching the game. So I think they steal one. I think they steal one to Seattle. But ultimately, I think Houston wins the series and moves on to the ALCS.
Okay. Well, we got to move on. We have some NFL to talk about this week. Wild week last week. I kind of want to apologize. I don't think I've had an 0-3 week in a really long time, 9-6 on the season, but I was on a hot streak, and all heaters come to an end. In the NFL holds is no prisoners. Last week, I think I've learned a lesson, and it's funny because Shally brought it up, and as I was making my picks, I'm like, man, I did say that shit, and then I did exactly what I said not to do, and I bet on bad football teams. Carolina Panthers fired Matt Rule. Bet on Carolina Panthers plus 6.5. That was not good. And Carson Wentz threw another game away. It's just like he tried to lose the game. Washington did everything they could to get down there. And the first down, he tried throwing a pick in the back of the end zone. Second down, he tried throwing a line drive pick. And third down, he absolutely threw the pick. So did a bad job there. And the Green Bay Packers laid a London dud after being up 20-10 at the half. I'm like, all right, I'll start the day with a win.
Good. Yeah.
So rough week for me, but not a rough week for the Philadelphia Eagles, who moved to 5-0. But your thoughts on week 5? Any game that stood out to you? Any game you would like to talk about? I know Monday Night Football was a lot of fun. I just don't understand the going for 2 part with Josh McDaniels.
Never understand it.
Not
in that
either.
situation.
I feel like they never get it either.
If you want to go for 2, for me, that's fine. I think Joe Buck said it perfectly, though. With 4 minutes and 30 seconds left, even if you get the 2-point conversion, you still have to stop Kansas City. So regardless, you got to stop Kansas City. And so why not just kick the extra point? Because then if you stop them, you can go down and win the football game. So to me, it makes no sense in that situation. If it's less time on the clock, let's say, a minute, 30 seconds, whatever, all forward, 4 minutes is way too long. But the one game that really stood out to me was the game that Bill used as one of his picks, and that's the Cowboys against the Rams. I don't know what it is about this Rams team, but they just don't have it going. And this Cowboys team with Cooper Rush just finding ways to keep winning football games. Obviously, in that game, if you watched it, you saw that their defense, they got to scoop and score. They blocked the punt. There's a lot of other factors that went into that. But the Rams look terrible. And at this point, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. Like, I think eventually they turn it around, but I mean, I don't know at what point are they going to have that happen.
I think Gene touched on this last week, and I think he's 100% right. Matt Stafford's looked terrible. I think the play calling is a little bit suspect right now. And the biggest thing is, you can't throw the ball to Cooper Kupp on every down. You just can't do it. And that's what they're trying to do right now. They have yet to get, Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers going. They have no run game to speak of. They're essentially trying to play offense like the Buffalo Bills. And that's not going to work because they don't have the personnel to do that. And I think some of it's the hangover. And I'll tell you the other thing, and Gene touched on this a little bit last week too. The defense is not what it was last year. I think you could argue that the defense should be better this year with adding, Bobby Wagner, and you still have Ramsey there. Ramsey's look like crap. Ramsey's, this is the worst statistical year, to start to a year that he's ever had in his career. People are throwing at him and they're not shying away from him whatsoever. They're going right at him. Bobby Wagner's been okay, but Aaron Donald is far away off pace of his normal, dominant play. as a team, man, they do not look sharp. They don't. I don't want to say they don't look interested, but I mean, there's just times in games where you watch them, you're like, this is not the team that won the Super Bowl last year, and it's not even close. It's not the same mentality. It's not the same attitude. They don't seem to have the same fight, and Matt Stafford's throwing the ball all over the goddamn yard right now, and they don't look good. And I'll tell you what, I'll go as far to say I'll disagree with a little bit, Cottrell. I don't know if they turn it around. They have a hard schedule. The NFC, those last couple wild card spots in the NFC are going to be tight. I don't think there's any doubt in the world that San Fran's going to win that division. So it's going to be really interesting in the next 2 months.
I'll touch on a couple of things. Number one, the Rams look absolutely abysmal. I thought their defense would carry them in that game. It did not. Matt Stafford looks like he's begging for another weapon over there. Allen Robinson doesn't seem to be it. The offensive line isn't in sync. Lennon said that perfectly. I think the biggest issue for the Rams, the offensive line, they can't stay in sync to make a push. I don't think they make the playoffs. I agree with you. The game that stood out to me the most was the Bengals versus the Ravens. That was a great football game, back and forth. I still think the Bengals offense isn't where it needs to be. Lamar Jackson missed a couple really big throws.
Yes, he
to
did.
Put that game away.
Back
But with that being said, it was a good football game. Good AFC North football. Justin Tucker, they should have played Timmy Trumpets when he came out. The closer.
The dude don't miss, man.
Not when the game's on the line.
Nope.
And Tiny said, "I'm saying this out loud. The Browns suck. Cottrell, please call out your boy. The Browns do suck. They do. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest misfortune for the Browns is their season's over. And I truly believe that, and I'll let Cottrell rebuttal. But the next few weeks, they play New England this week, and I think that's a coin flip type game after New England seems to be getting together behind Bailey Zappi, and that defense and that run game with Ramondre Stevenson. But after that, they go at Miami, they play Buffalo, they have a really Tampa Bay, they have a really tough schedule. And the winnable games that they had on their schedule, Brandon Staley tried to give the Browns the football game, and they just couldn't do it. And I just don't know. I love Kevin Stefanski, but why are we just settling for 56-yard field goals to walk off the game and just assuming our kicker is going to hit it? You have to try to get the ball further down the field. I felt like they were very conservative in their approach and just hoping that Cade would bail them out like he did week one. You look at that Browns team, and Cottrell said this last week, and I just don't agree with it, or 2 weeks ago. They could be 3-0. Well, yeah, they also could be 1-4 because you need a 58-yard field goal from Cade York to beat the hopeless Panthers down in Carolina. I think that their season's over. Unfortunately for Cottrell, I know he's thinking Deshaun Watson will be the savior when he comes back week 11. I don't see that. Guy hasn't played football in a year and a half. Back after their schedule is awful. The Browns have all their easy games after Deshaun Watson gets back, so they really need to do their best to stay above float and win a couple of these games coming up. But I don't like it. I don't like what I see.
I think the only thing that's going to help them is Cincinnati and Baltimore are not really pulling away. They're squandering chances at the same time to really put distance between themselves and Cleveland. Pittsburgh might win 4 games this year. So they're out of it. Cleveland's going to sit there and float above them. And if Baltimore and Cincinnati don't get their acting gear and get a 3 or 4 game lead, I don't know. I mean, again, I agree with you in the fact that I think it's going to take a week or two for Deshaun to really be up to speed and probably look like what we're used to seeing. So, I mean, even in that case, if they split those games when he comes back, I mean, that could be a crucial loss as well. Yeah, I mean, being -3 at home against New England with their third string quarterback kind of tells you all you need to know. That is not, if this was last year, even with Baker still, they're probably 7-8 point favorite. It's grind it out and see what happens. I don't know. I mean, I think one of these bad losses at some point probably bites you in the ass before the season's over. I think you probably come up a game short, and I mean, then at that point you could point to a million different things to why you didn't make it.
And Vegas is freaked out, man. The game opened up at -3 versus New England, and 65% of money is on New England. It's already moved to 2.5. I feel like that Vegas is scared. They're trying to protect their assets with that, and they're trying to move the line to get more Cleveland action on that game. But that's not one of our games this week. Let's talk about some of the games this week.
I get no rebuttal?
No rebuttal. No, I'm sorry, Gad.
Nothing.
No, but Gene, I mean, I agree with the points you make. I just don't agree with saying the season's over. And a big part of that is because of what Bill said. It would be different if the Bengals or the Ravens had started off the season 4-1 or 5-0 or something like that. We're only one game behind the Ravens right now. We have the same record as the Bengals. And I get it, we had some games that we should have won. I full-heartedly believe that, the 3 losses that we have been by a combined total of 6 points. We lost some very winnable games. But with that said, though, I think if you can find a way to win one of the games that weren't marked as a win before the season, and I'm not saying you go beat Buffalo or you go beat Tampa, but one of the games that you weren't expecting to win going into the season, like a Miami game. If Tua's not available or Tua doesn't like himself for whatever reason, you somehow go and beat a Miami team, or these division games. You can find, like, if you beat the Ravens the first time without Deshaun, which is something that I wouldn't have been expecting. But if you can find a way to do that and keep yourself afloat in the division, I said it before the year, if you can win 6 games before Deshaun gets back, you're in good shape. But at this point, if you can just be within 1 game of the division by the time Deshaun gets back, even if that means you're 5-6, if the Bengals or the Ravens are ahead of you and they're 6-5, you're still in good shape. That's the only reason why I don't think the season is over yet, because like Bill said, the Ravens and the Bengals haven't quite pulled away yet.
That's fair. I apologize for not giving you your rebuttal. I heard you say things before we got on air, and I just already assumed I knew what you were going to say. So I apologize. But let's get into this week, and we'll talk about the Eagles in a minute. Eagles Elite Podcast. Appreciate you tuning in and commenting. But we'll talk about the Eagles in a minute. But we got a couple of games we got to go over. First one is Ravens at Giants. The Giants are 4-1. Won the London game. Big game over. I'll tell you what now. Somebody said something, and I heard it, and it really made a lot of sense to me. The Giants, to me, feel like this year's Titans. Now, I don't think they'll be the 1 seed. I just think that they're scrappy. They have a premier running back. They have a quarterback that's not losing them the game. Daniel Jones's turnovers have went down every year he's been in the league. He's down to 0.6 per game, which is basically almost 1 every 2 games. I think the Ravens win this game. I think they win it going away. I actually think it's somewhat of a blowout. But with that being said, I've picked against the Giants multiple times, and multiple times they've really kind of put it in my face. There's nothing to me that seems very elite about the Giants. They don't seem great to me. They seem like they have a okay offensive line, scrappy. Saquon Barkley looks like Saquon Barkley. Their receivers are all hurt, but they keep winning football games.
I was going to say, you say that, and I've been with you. I didn't think that the Giants would be what they are. But on the flip side of it, I think, whenever we have the Ravens as one of our big games, typically I pick the Ravens. And, we've seen them squander a game against the Dolphins. We've seen them lose the game against the Bills. And so this Ravens team, to my standards, I would say they're underperforming. And now it came out that they just lost, Marcus Williams for a sizable amount of the season. They put him on IR. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. At this point in the season, Marcus Williams is already second in the league in interceptions. So you got a ball hawk in your secondary that's not going to be there for the foreseeable future. And this is your first game without him. I know the Giants don't have this pass happy offense, but just seeing how they communicate in the back end, and how they miss assignments and things like that, who's to say who's behind him. So I do think the Ravens win this game, but I'm definitely not as confident in it as I thought I would be, just seeing the game on paper. The Giants have found ways to win. And I told you guys this on Sunday. Brian Dable can coach his ass off. And if you got a good coach and you have some players who want to play for you and you have a little bit of talent, that can take you a long way. And he's getting the most out of those guys. So I think the Giants can win this game. I'm going with the Ravens, but I think it's going to be somewhat close because I just trust Brian Dable to put those guys in a good position to win a football game.
So, I mean, I'm going to start with the Dable thing, which Cottrell just touched on. I mean, there was a lot of, there was the whole controversy of the offseason. Everybody remembers with him and Brian Flores and Bill Belichick, maybe not purposely texting the wrong Brian. We don't know. I think we can lay all that to bed now. I still 1,000,000% think that Brian Flores should be head coach in the NFL. I think we can lay to rest. We could take Brian Dable's name off the list of guys who deserve a job. That football team is bought in, man. I mentioned it with the Phillies and Mickey Thompson. They're all pulling the same way right now. Are they the most talented team?
Is Mickey a nickname for Rob Thompson?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't know where it came from, but
I don't know.
I've
never heard that until you said it twice now.
Oh, yeah, I've heard it a couple of times. I think Gene hit it, nail right on the head. I think they're scrappy. I think they're tough. They play with resolve, and they're battling their asses off in every game. I think they beat Green Bay, and I think we need to lower the bar on Green Bay because we go through this and we keep hearing like, oh, they're just going to turn it on. They're just going to turn it on. They don't have the horses just to do that this year. They don't.
Somebody didn't have Aaron Rodgers in the top 10 quarterbacks. That was me.
You got to zoom out. Your head doesn't fit in the square right now.
Was I right?
No,
was I right?
No, I get
it. It's only week 5.
I mean, stop. You could see it.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, you can.
He does not have the horses, bro.
You can.
He
Yes,
doesn't have it.
I don't want to.
I'll tell you right now. You better.
I don't want to count out the receiving core
this week. Oh, if they
I don't want to count out the receiving core when they got 2 rookies that are playing a sizable amount of snaps. I think eventually they get on the same page.
I get it, but all you ever hear is, "Oh, Aaron, Aaron can do this, Aaron can do that." He's not doing it this year.
I'm with that.
And he's in his defense, which I don't do very often. He's a year older, and he doesn't have the support out wide right now. They're trying to be a run first team with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's happy about that, number one. And number two, I think he also knows they don't have a choice. So, I think it's a great win for the Giants. I think kind of like the opposite of what I said about Cleveland, you guys coming up 1 game short. That game they stole over in London, maybe that's, down the stretch run, the one game they didn't think they were going to win or nobody thought they were going to win. Maybe that's a game that gets them into a wild card or, at least gives them a shot at, going into the last week to get into the playoffs. But I think Baltimore ultimately wins the football game to get back to that. I agree with both of you, though. I think it's a close game. I know Gene said running away. I don't know if it's running away. Maybe they win by 10, but maybe they score with like a minute to go or something like that. Baltimore, it seems like they're hitting a replay of what they did last year. That team is just, the guys are falling like flies again. Cottrell hit it, with Williams going on IR now. They're falling all over the place. They have injuries everywhere again. And they haven't closed games out either. And the Giants are the perfect team. We saw it again Sunday. If Lamar and company let them hang around going into the fourth quarter, then who knows? And that's kind of been Baltimore's MO this year. So they'll be up in New York. I think Baltimore wins a close game. But kind of like Gene said, I'm not going to be shocked if the Giants win. I'm not.
This is very homerish, but that's okay. Who do you, the co-main event this week? The co-main event, like the leading up to the main event.
Oh boy,
the Chiefs. I'm just saying, 0 versus 4-1 sounds a lot better than 4-1 versus 4-1. I don't know, but the co-main event this week is Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, and let's talk about
my main
game.
event.
You can talk about all your main event you, but
give me
go by the record.
Give me Josh Allen.
9 wins.
Give me Josh Allen and Pat
is better
Mahomes over Jalen Hurts and the Cooper Rush guy.
that Cooper Rush guy is an undefeated NFL starter.
Hey,
Got to give him credit. Credit where
his
credit's due.
5
The
wins in
game's
his
in
career.
Kansas City, and the Buffalo Bills are 2.5-point favorites in this
I
one.
saw that.
What does that tell you, bro?
First time ever. Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog at home.
That is
Smacking
wild.
No respect for Patrick Mahomes.
Honestly, you know what that makes me feel like though. I think Pat's gonna
Pat
take that to
Mahomes.
heart, and he's gonna have one of those games where he scores 4 or 5 touchdowns again, because we just saw it, last Monday. But I think he has one of those games again, and he's gonna be like, why can't I get my respect? I've won MVP, I've won a Super Bowl. You've seen what I've done so far this season, and you see who I've been throwing the ball to. Put some respect on my name. And I think the Chiefs win the game. And I think Buffalo, they're going to try and get that bitter taste of the playoff side of their mouth. And I think they're going to give Kansas City their best shot. But I think this is going to be one of those 41-37 kind of games. But I got Pat Mahomes coming out on top.
I will say this, and I'll go second here, and Bill goes 3. I think Buffalo kicks the shit out of Kansas City this week. I really do.
Okay.
I think Buffalo kills them. Let me remind you of last year, right? Last year they played and Buffalo kicked their ass. All right. So then they played again in the playoffs, and Kansas City got their revenge at home. Kansas City won the game. But I'm telling you right now, revenge is one of those crazy things. I feel like this is another game on the Chiefs' schedule. And I feel like this is the only game on the Bills' schedule. And I really believe that this game's been circled for a while. The Buffalo Bills got to destroy the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got the whole second half off. They got to sit and watch Monday Night Football while Kansas City had to play. And they got to rest this week and get ready for Kansas City. Kansas City's playing on a short week, albeit at home. I like Buffalo to jump on them, man. This is their Super Bowl. This is their revenge game. Now, it might be different when they play in the playoffs, but I like Buffalo by a lot here. I really do. Buffalo wins this one 37-24.
I'm begrudgingly going to agree with everything Gene just said. And I'm gonna say it for this reason. I've mentioned it on the show before. We've seen it over the course of the last couple of years with Josh Allen's progression. First it was the raw kid with all the talent, kind of had to learn how to play quarterback. Then the next year he got a little better. Then the next year he got Stephon Diggs. They started winning games. Then it was, could they win the big playoff game? They did that until they got to Kansas City and lost that epic playoff game. And I'm saying this because I'm getting into what Gene just said. This is the next thing for him. This is the next thing for that team. And they continue to keep, I don't want to say it's a revenge tour, but it's kind of like we need to get over this hump tour. And to Gene's point, I 100% agree with. This is the next thing on that schedule. This is the next thing on that list that they want to do. I don't agree with that. It's just another game for Kansas City, but I do wholeheartedly agree with this is the game for the Buffalo Bills. They want to go in there. They want to make a statement. They want revenge for last year, how they lost in the playoffs in that game, that epic game. I think Buffalo goes in. I think Buffalo gets it done. I know they're ravished by injuries right now. I'll still take Buffalo's defense over Kansas City's. I agree with both of you. I think it's a high-scoring game. I will go 37-31 Buffalo, but I think Josh Allen and company go into Arrowhead and get it done.
Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. All right, gentlemen. The main event of the evening. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. A backup quarterback that's undefeated and a defense that hasn't allowed more than more than one touchdown in any game this season. The Dallas Cowboys. In the blue corner, you got an undefeated fighter, battle-tested, offensive line, defensive line, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jalen Hurts. Cottrell, because you're the out-of-towner here, and Eagles-Cowboys week is just a thing for us. Start us off. Who wins the game? What's the score?
Quick.
How does it go?
I already have in my mind how everything's going to go. What is the status on Slay?
Slice playing.
Slice playing.
I know he's playing,
Lot
but
is
like,
playing.
has he practiced?
He's
Not that it matters, but is he moving?
So Slay's fine. Slay is good, and Jordan Mailata will be back also.
Okay. Regardless, like I said, I already had it in my mind how it was going, but I did want to hear that for my own records. But I got the Eagles winning. I'm sure you're going to be happy to hear that. You're not going to have to burn me at the stake or anything like that. So I do think that the Eagles win that game, and I actually think it's somewhat close though. Might not be something that you want to hear, but I think that +6, I think that's a little high for me. I know it's Cooper Rush, and I feel like everyone at this point is kind of overrating him and, talking about he's taking Dak's job and things like that. But I think the Cowboys defense and just everything around Cooper is just playing well right now. It's not going to be close because I think Cooper throws for 300 yards or anything like that. It's actually in spite of that. I think that the Cowboys defense they'll come to play. They'll make life a little bit tough on Jalen. But at the end of the day, I think Philly has the better team. They have the more complete team, and they got the better coach. As much as I like Dan Quinn as the DC, I hide nothing about my disdain for Mike McCarthy as a head coach. I think he's really just getting by at this point, and Dan Quinn is really the leader of that team because it's been all on his shoulders in that Cowboys defense. But with all that said, I think the Eagles win. I think it's a lower scoring game, though. I say 24-20, Eagles win.
Bill.
I'm picking this game, but that being said, I'll give you my thoughts on this a little bit. I agree with a lot of what Cottrell said. I think the way everything is right now, I just think we're the better football team. It's a rivalry game. It's a night game. The link, is going to be a madhouse. It's going to be a madhouse. That is going to be a very different scenario for Cooper Rush walking in there Sunday night. I promise you that. That being said, we talked about it in the chat a little bit. I don't have, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Cooper Rush is a better football player than Dak Prescott. That's silly. I will tell you it's one of those weird instances where the team is playing better with him because they're playing a more, stripped out, simple game, and they're forced to play to their strengths. They're trying to run the ball. They're relying on their defense to keep them in field position, and they're trying to be opportunistic. He's making, I don't want to say super safe throws, but he's not throwing. They're not giving him any kind of complicated route package that he's going to have to thread the needle and do things like that. They're game planning and scheming guys open as easily as they can for him. That being said, this is going to be the first elite defense he's probably going to face and he's going to look at in front of a hostile crowd. Darius Slay, like we just said, is going to play. I'm assuming he's going to shadow CD most of the night. How do we play against the run? I think that's one of the biggest determining factors. They've been able to run the ball last couple of weeks with Zeke and Pollard. If they can't run the ball Sunday night, then I think it gets ugly because then I think Eagles and Gannon, they'll be able to go after Cooper a little bit, force him into some bad throws, and then all hell can break loose. I'm not going to give my pick right now because I know, we're going to do it at the end of pick 'em, but I do think it's a little bit of a low scoring game. It is a rivalry game, and it's a big game. It's for first place, straight up. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't like saying certain things, but I'll say it here. Fuck Dallas, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, we are doing pick 'em next, but what I want to do is I want to do something just a little different this week. I want you to give your picks with a very small segment of why, but try to keep all your entire pick 'em to less than 90 seconds, because I think that at the end of the day, I want to be able to clip them and put them on TikTok. Just FYI for everyone. So don't interrupt someone they're making their picks and give them their full 90 seconds. Try to knock out all your picks. But
Gene, are you picking the game too?
I am, but it doesn't matter. I will tell you now, and I'll give it to you again during pick 'em. I might look like a complete asshole when I do this. Dallas has had the Eagles number for the last few years. Dak Prescott has thrown like 90 points on us last year. Dan Quinn and that defense always seem to have the Eagles number. It just seems to be the Eagles can't move the ball. Back to the Carson Wentz days. But the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely destroy the Cowboys on Sunday Night
Okay.
Football. And I don't
Okay.
think it's close. I think it's a whitewash. I think it's perfect for Dallas because what they can do is like, okay, now you know Cooper Rush isn't the guy. It's good. I know this script, right? The Dallas Cowboys are going to be like, now Dak Prescott gets to come back after getting beat 34-13 in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going to kill Cooper Rush. They are going to move the ball, and that offensive line is going to slow down Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence like nobody else can. The best right tackle, left tackle tandem in the league, Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, are going to bury the Cowboys. The Eagles are going to run the ball on them. They're going to throw the ball on them, and they're going to dominate the Dallas Cowboys this week. Eagles 34, Cowboys 13. Let's get into pick 'em. Cottrell, start us off.
All right. You had me worried there for a little bit, but
don't be worried. I got you.
I didn't think you picked the Cowboys on a day like today, but you had me worried. You had me going there. But my pick 'em for this week. So a few games I actually really love this week. The first one being the Bengals at the Saints. As you guys know, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, it's all those LSU guys. They get to go back to Louisiana, and they're going up against the Saints team that also has a lot of Louisiana guys, a lot of LSU guys on the team. And I think this is going to be a higher scoring matchup. So I love the over 43.5. I think they're going to put on the show for the fans, and we're going to see some big plays in that game. Another game I like, Minnesota -4 at Miami. They've already said that Skylar Thompson is going to be out of quarterback for Miami. We saw how bad Miami looked last week with a backup quarterback, and I think Minnesota is in a spot right now where they had it rolling last week against the Chicago Bears. Say what you want about Chicago, they had no answer for Justin Jefferson. Kirk and Justin are on the same page. Dalvin Cook is still healthy and still running along there. I think Minnesota wins that game by at least a touchdown or more. The other game I like, the Los Angeles Chargers at home against the Denver Broncos. I think this is going to be a game where the Chargers can really get it going, especially against the Denver team that's been struggling on offense. They lost Javonte Williams earlier in the year for the rest of the season. I doubt Russell Wilson plays. He's got a torn tendon in his shoulder. So the Broncos are going to be struggling with the backup running back and a backup quarterback. And I think this is going to be easy for the Chargers to put up some points and gain ground in that loaded AFC West division.
Okay, then that's your pick 'em. The one thing I really found was funny. You brought up the Broncos country. Let's cry because they've looked absolutely atrocious. And then the Miami Dolphins, man. I just say what you want. That Minnesota team almost let Chicago come back. And I think that Dolphins defense is going to play well at home. I really do. I think that might be a very low scoring game. You might want to go with the under with that one. But Shally, give me your pick 'em.
All right, here we go. 1-2 last week, still sucking. Got to have a good week here somewhere. Just by accident, I got to pick winners eventually. So the first one, I'm going to go New England at Cleveland, now -2.5. I'm going to take the Browns. Even though we spent the earlier part of the show talking about it, Cleveland at home, I think they do enough to win this game by 6 or 7. I really do. I think New England will play good enough defense to keep in the game. I think Jacoby and company make enough plays to have a comfortable lead down the stretch, and like I said, probably win by a touchdown. I don't have faith in New England to continue to put up points week after week like they are right now. And I think Cleveland has to have some sort of desperation a little bit. I mean, we could talk about it all we want and not say the season's over. I think at some point you have to be realistic in that locker room, and really understand that they have to go out and win a game here. So it's a home game. It's a very winnable game. They have to have it. I'll say Cleveland puts out a good effort on Sunday, and I'll risk the 2.5 with them. And if I'm wrong, then I just get to make fun of Control Wednesday. Number 2, we talked about this game already as well. Some will call it the main event. Some will call it the co-main. I don't know. Buffalo at Kansas City. I think we get the game of the year so far. I truly believe that. I'm not going to take the spread. I think the over-under is 53.5. I'm going with the over. Buffalo's defense is banged up beyond belief. Kansas City just isn't as good as it's been, and it was borderline leaky before. I think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes dazzle us like we're all expecting to see. I think we get that game again. I think they easily go over. I said 37-31. That puts us way over the 53.5. That being said, I never get over-unders right, so be ready for a 17-13 game. Number 3, last and not least, Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys. I think the Eagles win the game. I wish I had the confidence Gene does. I really do. I think Dallas is going to be able to grind that game down enough to where it stays within one possession. It's a 6-point spread right now. I think the Eagles win 24-20, but I think Dallas covers. So, and again, if I get this wrong, I don't care. That's egg on my face, and I'll gladly take it because that means the Eagles kick the shit out of Dallas. So that's my 3 pick'ems. And one last time, fuck Dallas.
So
I think it's interesting.
yeah.
Me and Bill have the exact same score for that game, 24-20.
I think the Eagles, honestly, I think the Eagles are going to try to. The weird part of me, I think the Eagles are going to run the ball against Dallas. The thing that worries me is something that Gene touched on, the Snyder effect. I don't think Jalen has a bad game by any means. This is a game that I feel like he can make a mistake or two, and they win by 4 or 5 instead of maybe 10. But again, I'm fully confident the Eagles win the game just because I think they're the better football team. I really do. I think top to bottom, 1 through 53, like Gene said, line up the lines, wide receiver groups, whatever you want to do. We're just a better football team.
Just real quick, shout out to Pano Picks and Bet Openly for having a contest of the best cappers on TikTok, and Wire to Wire Sports Podcast was invited. So we will be having a contest for our Pick'em segment with the NFL. So I'm pretty excited about that. Look for that on Pano Picks, Bet Openly, and it's it'll be all over TikTok. When I finish in the top 5, you will see us shouted out with people that have over 100,000 followers. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick. For my picks, I have 3. They're all favorites, which sometimes good, sometimes not. But they're favorites that aren't being bet on heavily. First one I have is the Indianapolis Colts, -1.5 at home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Indianapolis is sick of Jacksonville kicking the crap out of them. I think Indy plays at home. They have a little bit extra rest. I think Frank Wright's ready for his revenge game against Doug Peterson, old coordinator versus coach. And I think that the Colts win this one. I really think that the Jaguars are playing above their head right now. So I'll take the Colts in that one. For my second game, I'm going to keep doing it. And I guess it got me wrong last week, but I'm going to do it again. I like the Ravens -5.5 over the Giants. I think Lamar Jackson, I know Wink Martindale is the defense coordinator for the Giants. I know he knows Lamar Jackson, but I think that Ravens and Lamar Jackson make enough plays to win that game by 14 plus. Give me the Ravens because they're a much better football team over the Giants. And my lock of the week, my best pick of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles -6 over the Dallas Cowboys. I cannot wait to watch that game on Sunday Night Football and watch the Eagles absolutely annihilate the Dallas Cowboys. There's no team in all sports that I despise more than the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, Cowboys week is a real thing, and the Eagles are going to win this game, and they're going to win it 31-13 or 34-13. It will not be close. Ladies and gentlemen, Cooper Rush will be begging for Dak Prescott to take his job back after this one. That's my picks this week. All right. College football. This might be the best week college football we've ever had. Ever. I'm just kidding. But the best week so far this year. And let's talk about what happened last week, what your reactions were to last week in college football, and then we'll get into this week. Couple super dog specials. Shally hit a huge one with A&M, keeping that game very close. Alabama survived another one. But great pick, man. Pick good teams. Don't worry about what the spread is. You pick good teams. What'd you guys think of last week college football? What was your game? Was it Alabama A&M? Was it Georgia covering like I said they would? The Stanford Cardinal, which basically Cottrell said I lost even though I won. It's hurtful, Cottrell. It's hurtful.
Hurtful. I mean, for me, I think it was the Kansas TCU game. And we've joked about it a little bit on this show. I actually picked them and pick them, and was kind of propping them up at the beginning of the year. They went in there. Well, they were hosting actually. TCU were down to their backup quarterback, and those kids played their asses off against TCU. Lost 38-31. Great game. Listen, man, they're for real. I mean, it's just one of those weird things. They're just a team that nobody saw coming. I don't think they make the playoff or win the Big 12 or anything like that. But, I mean, when's the last time we saw like a 9-win Kansas team, which is probably what you're going to get at the end of the year? They got a tough game this week again on the road. But I think it's winnable because I don't know if anybody's imploding faster than Oklahoma. So, it's I'm just happy for those kids, man. I am. And TCU, in their defense, they went on the road and they answered the bell every time. That offense is no joke. They're really not, man. They are built to put points on the board. So watching that game last week was kind of fun for me.
Well, my favorite was a guy I told you about in the preseason. I'll continue telling you about now. The Red River rivalry wasn't a rivalry at all. Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns dominated Oklahoma. I loved it, every minute of it. Man, I made this comment on Facebook, and I'll make it on the show. I think Quinn Ewers goes on to be a better pro than C.J. Stroud. I think Ohio State will regret the fact that they allowed Quinn Ewers to get out of the building, and I think Quinn Ewers is a better pro in the NFL than C.J. Stroud is. I constantly say this. It's not Ohio State hate because I love Justin Fields. But I constantly say this. I think Ohio State is stronger, faster, and bigger than every team they play in the Big Ten. And they play, when they play good competition and people that are elite that can keep up with C.J. Stroud, he always looks like he's not up for the occasion. Michigan last year, I feel like that this year versus Notre Dame, he didn't look great. Granted, he was missing his best receiver to start the game. But with that being said, Ohio State, just like Shally said last year with Bryce Young, there's no excuse, right? There's no excuse when your receiver goes down because there's another 4-star kid right behind them. And I don't want it with Ohio State wide receivers. They're all 5-star kids. Those kids are all absolute studs. So I loved watching Quinn Ewers dominate. I think Quinn Ewers is only going to get better and better. I think Texas is a force to be reckoned with. I think it's a shame they have 2 losses and they have no chance to make the college football playoff because I think by the end of the year, you will think they are a top 4 team in college football. I really believe that. Cottrell, your thoughts?
I mean, saying Quinn is better than CJ, will be better than CJ, I don't think is a surprise. I mean, I said
most people listening, it is.
To me, I mean, I said when Quinn came in, when he was a freshman, that he was going to be the next best thing up. And I thought, Quinn was going to take CJ's job because I wasn't expecting CJ to only lose 2 games going into that and looking how he did being one of the finalists for the Heisman, that kind of thing. So I fully expected Quinn to come in, take his job. I saw the kid in high school. He's special. I think Quinn's better. He will be better than everybody that's currently in college football right now, the quarterback position that's starting. CJ, Bryce, Hendon Hooker, all those guys. I think Quinn is going to be the best out of all of them. But with that said, I agree. Texas, they look good when he's there. The nice thing is that Quinn will be back next year, so we'll see them. The unfortunate thing though is that Bijan will be gone, but I think Quinn will be there. They'll be fine with him at the helm, and Sark will have another year to develop him. But for me, the game that was kind of fun to watch was the Notre Dame BYU game, and it wasn't because of me picking them. Of course, that added on more to it, but it was cool to see the atmosphere in Vegas. They had the great jerseys. Notre Dame had the great jerseys. And it was also cool to see that their tight end, he broke the all-time Notre Dame record for tight ends receiving set by Tyler Eifert. So that game, it meant a lot. And I enjoy watching it. For it to be the primetime game, it definitely lived up to it. Notre Dame almost found a way to choke that game away, but it definitely lived up to the hype for me being in Vegas. I hope they do that more often.
Yo, Michael Mayer, truth, bro. That kid can play. I think he's the second best tight end in the country behind Brock Bowers. I've said
Third.
that in the beginning of the year.
To me, I think he's behind Brock, and he's also behind Darnell Washington, Brock's teammate.
All right. Let's get into this week. We have a lot of games on the docket. Good
Baby
ones.
Gronk's got me and Gene throwing the football to him right now.
Darnell Washington is 6'8", 270, and moving like a truck.
So I guess we start with I kind of want to do this in a different. I know the game I want to end on. Let's start with Oklahoma State versus TCU. I think this is a pretty easy game to predict. I almost picked it because I think the TCU wins the game. I don't think Oklahoma State is that good of a football program. I think TCU wins this one. I'll start there. Cottrell?
I disagree with you a little bit. I do think TCU wins the football game, but I don't think OK State has like no shot or anything like that. Their quarterback's been playing very well. Obviously, 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12 right now. But we saw TCU just play Kansas, and although Kansas lost their quarterback, Kansas still played very well. And I think Oklahoma State is a team that's better than what Kansas is. So, and they got a grown man coaching them over there. He's a man. He's 40. So
I love that.
I think Mike Gundy,
top 5 all time.
he's a good college head coach, and he'll have OK State ready to roll. I do think TCU wins, of course, big advantage being at home, but I think this is a 1-possession ball game, and I think ultimately TCU guts it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very good game. Two undefeated teams coming in. TCU coming off that very emotional win at Kansas last week. Now they go home. Mike Gundy and the Cowboys and come to town. He's got a decent amount of kids left from that very good team from last year. Cottrell already mentioned the quarterback was the starter last year. He's playing safer football this year. He's not playing as much hero ball. I actually think this is whoever has the ball last. I really do. I think this game is a game about offense. We talk about it all the time. Nobody really plays defense in the Big 12, and this is not going to be an example of it in this game either. So, that being said, there's going to be one team on the top of the heap of the Big 12 after this week, and I think it's going to be the TCU Horned Frogs. I think they win 41-38 at home, and after 6 weeks, they're going to be the top dog in the Big 12. I think they pull it out. I think it's easily one of the most entertaining games this weekend. That game will be a track meet.
Next game on the docket, USC Utah. I think that this is the biggest trap of the week. You look at it, Utah's 3.5-point favorites. Vegas is telling you that they want you to bet all your money on USC, and they're telling you that Utah is going to win this game and cover. I'm not gonna bet it, but I will fall for the trap because I think USC is the better football team, and I will take USC after watching what Utah laid an egg last week versus UCLA. I will take USC to beat Utah in Utah.
I don't know if laid an egg would be the term that I use, but I mean, I agree. We saw what they did last week. But for the USC team, though, this is going to be their toughest challenge that they've had all season so far. I know they played a close game earlier in the year against Oregon State, but this Utah team is a team that a lot of people coming into the season, I believe Bill was one of them too, that people thought this team had the potential to make the college football playoff. Utah, typically, they're known for playing really good defense, and so this will be the toughest defense that Caleb Williams and company have seen so far this year. On paper, I do think USC has the better team. I think it's a bad matchup, though. I like Utah to win. You know, I feel like you talked about games being circled on calendars. I feel like this is one of those games. You know, I feel like Utah, they heard all the hype coming into the season about Lincoln Riley going to SC and Caleb Williams transferring over, and they're like, hey, we're the Pac-12 champions. We just went to the Rose Bowl last year. This is our conference. So,
So you're picking against your college football playoff.
I am. I am. I think you know, as good as I was expecting USC to be this year, I haven't seen exactly what I want to see from them. You know, I think people have been underrating them all season, but at the same time, I think it's just a bad matchup.
Okay, so you have Utah.
So this one's tough for me. I've talked numerous times this year about Utah and what I thought they were going to be. They were one bad play away from opening that year with, you know, winning that game in the swamp against Florida. To Cottrell's recent point, too, I've also talked all year how Vegas doesn't believe in them, and they keep proving them wrong every week, and they keep winning. I mean, I've picked USC, I think, 3 times so far and pick them, and they've won every time. I do agree with Cottrell. It's a bad matchup for them. I think Utah is a better version of Oregon State. That's really what they are. They're very physical up front. They like to run the ball, a lot of play action. There's a little things that USC struggles against. They're going to go to Utah, and that is not an easy place to play. That stadium's on the side of a mountain. That stadium will be packed. And to Gene's point, listen, if there was ever a game that was going to be circled now, especially the way Utah's season started, it's this one. They lose this game, they're done. You know, they don't have any college football aspirations anymore because they have 2 losses. They can still win the Pac-12. They only have 1 loss in the Pac-12. You beat USC head-to-head. You have to take care of Oregon and probably look for some help somewhere else. I also slightly agree with Cottrell. I don't really necessarily think they laid an egg last week. I just think we all missed the boat, including myself. I've picked against them twice now. I think we all missed the boat on UCLA. I just think they're way better. You know, they're in that same boat as Kansas was. I just don't think anybody thought they were going to be that good this year, and we just all missed it on them. And again, myself included. I think Utah ekes it out at home. I really do. USC is almost like a smaller version of Alabama to me. They've played with fire a couple times, have gotten away with it. And I don't think they do Saturday night. I think Utah's playing for their season. Very difficult place to go play. And like I said, Utah's literally playing for their lives. They really are. I think Utah ekes it out. I'll say something like 27-24. I think it's a good game. If it's a trap, it's a trap. I shook my head as soon as Gene said that. But I'll just be a sucker for it.
It's a trap for USC. It's not a trap for Utah.
Yeah,
you're picking Utah to win. You're picking
Utah
to win. You're on the Vegas side.
I get it. But at the same time, you know, to your point, I mean, you know, you write everything down on a piece of paper. You're picking USC every time. They just have the better players. But that's the beauty of football. Any given Saturday/Sunday. So I'm going to go with Utah at home to get it done in a very close game.
Next game on the docket, Penn State, Michigan. Go ahead, Bill.
How is this not last?
Well, last because it's the best game of the week is Alabama versus Tennessee.
It's not if Bryce Young don't play.
I tell you right now, that's 3 versus 6. SEC glory. Yeah.
This I already know what this is.
Game of the week.
I agree. This is just you. This is already you making excuses for what's about to happen in Ann Arbor on Saturday.
Okay.
I'm picking this game, and I'm just going to preview the hell out of it right now. I don't care. I think it's a good football game. I think Penn State's overachieved. I think Penn State and their 32-year-old quarterback Sean Clifford are going to go to Ann Arbor. I think they're going to play well. You know, he's improved over his 8 years of college. He's learned how to read a defense. I think Michigan's just better. I think Michigan's better everywhere across the board, except maybe the secondary. I think Joey Porter Jr. anchors that secondary. I think the one advantage we have is we probably have 4 or 5 number 2s. We don't have a true number 1. So whoever he shadows, I love all the matchups across the board everywhere else for our receivers. I think our offensive line's better. We're going to be able to run the ball. Blake Corum's becoming, a dark horse Heisman candidate. and I think JJ is going to get it done. This is the first time for JJ really to shine. Our defense has looked great the last 2 weeks, and Penn State still struggles up front on their offensive line. I just think we're a better player, and as many faults as people look at Jim Harbaugh. I'll take Jim Harbaugh over freaking James Franklin every day of the week, twice on Sunday in a big game. So I think Michigan wins. I think Michigan wins something like 30-17. I think it's a great game, though.
Cottrell?
So this is a matchup that just makes me want to vomit all over the place because you got the quarterback I probably like the least in college football going up against the team that I like the least in college football. With that said, though, I don't see a way for Penn State to win this game with Sean Clifford at quarterback. And I say that not because of my disdain for him, but I say that in the sense of I think they're gonna need big plays to happen. Sean Clifford is not that guy. When he tries to make big plays happen, they typically turn into turnovers. I think if they had my boy in there, Drew Aller, who I've been clamoring for to be their starter, they had him in there, I think they'd have a chance. I know it'd be tough for a freshman to go into Ann Arbor and find a way to get it done, but I think he would give them that big play ability to keep them in the game. With that said, Michigan's been running the ball very well. Their defense has struggled a little bit. They've definitely been missing the two top 2 round picks on their defensive line, but they've been finding ways to get it done, and they haven't really had a true tough test yet. They had a couple games, fall within a couple possession, couple scores, but Michigan hasn't really been in true trouble. So I think Michigan gets up and then they're able to run the clock out. I see Michigan winning this game like a 27-17.
I'm picking this game, and I'm picking Penn State. I'm taking Penn State +7.
Let's go.
I think that this is a very close game. I could see Michigan winning on a last-second field goal. I could see Penn State winning on a last-second field goal. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. I think that Penn State's defense is severely underrated, and I think that Michigan's not going to be able to have their way running the football against Penn State. I just don't believe it. I don't believe they're going to be able to run the ball down the field like they have versus Little Sisters of the Poor like they've been playing all year. This is not Hawaii. This is not UConn. We're not Kent State University. Penn State will slow down Penn State will slow down the Michigan run game, and when they slow down that Michigan run game, they put the ball in JJ McCarthy's hands. And I like Penn State secondary to slow down their receivers. Give me Penn State on this one, 24-21.
I was with you until you threw Ken in there. We just caught a mean stray, but I was feeling you. I'm like, yeah, they've played nobody. They're not UConn. They're not Hawaii. But no, Kent State, you lost me there. But
no, Kent State's been a lot of money this year.
So you're picking them outright for the record?
Well, no, I'm taking them +7.
Oh, you said 24-21. What are you doing?
I'll take Penn State in a field goal game.
Wow,
but
man. As far as my pick'em,
as far as my pick'em goes, I'm taking Penn State. I'm taking the points. If I'm betting on this game, I'm taking Penn State +7. As far as my pick here, I'll take Penn State 24, Michigan 21. I don't mind, Shally. Like if you want to have yourself like your 7.365 favorite, -365 favorite, and if you want to bet something on, that's fine. We can do that. That's kind of how you like to do things. But that's fine. I'll still take Penn State to win the football game.
Whatever you want to do.
Right. Next on the docket, the game of the week. Alabama versus Tennessee. Hendon Hooker versus maybe Bryce Young. I don't know if Bryce Young plays, but I will say this. That Tennessee Vols team is legit. They look better and better each week. Hendon Hooker looks like a Heisman finalist. Tennessee moved the ball down the field versus LSU like nobody's business. Dropped a 40 spot on him in Death Valley. That doesn't happen. Tennessee looks really good. They're 7-point dogs in this game, and they're getting a lot of public love. This line is also a trap. This is a Bama line if you've never seen it. They want the public on Tennessee. I really would love to watch the Vols win this game. I'll go Bama 28, Vols 20.
I think Alabama has been literally begging for a team to beat them all season. I think this is a matchup where Tennessee's playing well and Alabama's not. They have their bright spots. Will Anderson has looked like Will Anderson, of course. Kool-Aid McKinstry in their secondary has looked well. And, offensively, Jahmyr Gibbs at the running back position, I mean, he's looking like every bit of an Alabama caliber running back. He's so far to me, I think he's been playing like a faster version of what we saw Alvin Kamara play when he was at Tennessee. So I think, big time playmaker for Alabama. But one, if Bryce Young doesn't play, I like Tennessee to win, and I don't think it's ever in danger. I think Bama keeps it close because they're just a resilient group led by the greatest head coach in college football history. But I think Tennessee would still win the game, and they'd handle business pretty accordingly. But if Bryce Young does play, I do think that gives that Bama team a spark. With that said, though, regardless, he plays, he doesn't play, I'm picking Tennessee. I like what I see out of the Tennessee defense, and I like what I see out of Hendon Hooker. You saw Quinn Ewers week 2. I know this isn't week 2, but you saw Quinn Ewers be able to move the ball on him. You saw Texas A&M finding ways to stay in that game last week. This isn't A&M. This isn't a hurt Texas team. This is Tennessee. They're still at full strength, and they got a Heisman candidate at quarterback. And so I think they go into this game and they know what they got to do to go win it, and I think that's what they're going to go do.
I hope you are right. I am rooting for the Vols. I would love to be wrong on this one. I just look at it from the Vegas eyes. I look at it from my point spread eyes, and that's what Vegas is telling me. I'm always going to be on Vegas' side. They take too much money off the people. But I hope you're right, man. I really do. I'll be rooting for Tennessee. I won't put money on this game because I understand I'm not going to root against I'm not going to bet against my rooting interest. Bill?
Yes, I mean, I think this is a tale of two situations here. I think if Bryce Young does play, I slightly favor Alabama. I think if he doesn't play, I think besides Will Anderson Jr., I think Hendon Hooker is the best player on the football field. I think the beginning of this game is crucial, and I mean that in this aspect. If you're a Tennessee fan, this is going to be the biggest home game any of these kids have played since they've been at college. You have Alabama coming to town. Everybody, Nick Saban is the bad guy. Everybody wants to see lose. And you're bringing the kids to town that never lose football games, and this is your shot. If Alabama gets out big somehow, I could see it going very, very badly for Tennessee. I think if Tennessee can get out fresh, or at least hold their own and really settle into the game and settle in front of those fans, then I think Alabama's in for a dogfight. I really do. I think the first 10 minutes of that game is crucial for Tennessee. I really believe that, because again, if you're Alabama, these kids have all played in games bigger than this. They're not going to go in there and feel like the game is too big for them or anything like that. They're going to go out and play football. The pressure early in the game is definitely on Tennessee. How does Hooker start the game? How does Will Anderson Jr. start the game? How do they block him? That being said, I think Bryce Young is going to play. I agree with Gene. I think that line tells you everything you want to know. Whatever everybody's expecting. And I also think this is I don't want to use the word trap, but I think Gene kind of hit on it. Nick Saban kind of in the public eye, he's going to convince those kids that they're the underdogs this week. And I hate when you get that Nick Saban. When you get that Nick Saban, his teams usually play really well. He's beating the hell out of them this week, saying how everybody's predicting them to lose. Tennessee's the better team. This, and this. I think they come out well and they play well. Just like the Texas game, I'm not as high on Bryce Young as Gene is, but that being said, kid showed me a lot in the Texas game. And I think when push comes to shove, not that I don't trust Hendon Hooker, I just think if the ball's in Bryce Young's hands at the end, I think the kid makes the one play he has to, because he does it all the time. I'm going to go Alabama 24, Tennessee 20. But I think it's an outstanding football game.
Every report I just checked out, I was looking at a couple of reports, but as we were talking, and it looks like Bryce Young is going to play Sunday or Saturday. So, I mean, I expect him to.
Biggest game
Same.
of the
It's the
year.
biggest game of the season. Yep, 100%. Biggest
And
game of the year
honestly,
until the.
this is really a playoff game for Bama. If they lose this game, I don't think Tennessee loses a game in the SEC the rest of the way out. And if that's the case, it's going to be Tennessee and SEC championship game.
Yeah, but they would get Bama again, most likely, because they're in the East. So Bama would come out in the West still.
Right.
Well, I mean, they got to beat Ole Miss, but that's all they would have to do because they already beat A&M. Vanderbilt.
But they have to beat Georgia.
Who?
Y'all forgot about Georgia?
Tennessee. Well, Tennessee's
Yeah,
got to
I'm
come
saying
out of the
Tennessee.
East. Yeah, Tennessee's got to beat Georgia. That's not Alabama's concern. I'm saying it's not the end of the. I mean, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world for Alabama if they lose this game. Because as long as they get in the SEC championship game with one loss and then beat either a Georgia or Tennessee team again, who's probably undefeated, whoever wins that game in a couple weeks, I mean, they're going to be in the playoff. We all know how that story is going to work out. So
November 5th at Georgia, bro. Let's knock that off right now. Let's knock that off right now. Tennessee ain't beating Georgia. At Georgia. Not happening.
Here comes the real fan. You can't talk shit about Georgia.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Go Dogs.
I hope Tennessee wins this one. And then Georgia's gonna end up beating Tennessee, and then we'll see it depends what comes out of the West to go against the undefeated champions, Georgia Bulldogs. But let's get into pick'em. Right now, who's in the league? Cottrell, you put the list up today. Is it Bill or you?
I
have the best record, by the way, just to be clear. I have the best record.
I'm in the league for Superdog right now. Got like a, I think, 12-point lead.
So give us the order.
Don't
let me beat y'all on record. Don't let me beat y'all on record.
We have the same record, Gene.
No, we don't.
It's
made a mistake.
That's true. That is true. I did make a mistake. Gene's up one right now. Gene, since you're so, you're full of yourself right now, we'll let you go first. Bill, you go second. I'll close us out.
All right. Well, let me get my notes up here. I got 3 games in my Superdog. First one I already previewed. I'll take Penn State +7 over Michigan. I'm that bold with it. I think the line's too big. It's 7.
6.5.
You can take whatever weird line you want to take.
I'm staring at it right now. It's 6.5.
Well, I'll take
Stop trying to take an extra half point.
Didn't we talk about not interrupting people when we're doing pick'em?
All right, well, don't try to cheat.
TikTok. It's not cheating. If there's some sites that have it 6.5 and some have it at 7, I got it at 7.
What site's at 7? I'll check.
I'm not going to look it up in the middle of me giving my pick'em.
It's 6.
Can we not do that?
Go ahead, man.
Do your thing. I'll take Penn State +6.5 then, just so Bill's really upset I'm beating him in NCAA. I'll also take. Hey, listen, Penn State +7 over Michigan. Michigan's going to lay an egg at home. Ann Arbor, they ain't played nobody all year. Give me Penn State. Number 2, give me Syracuse -3.5 over NC State. Syracuse playing at home, undefeated. I'll take them. And then give me BYU +1.5 at home over Arkansas. And for my Superdog special, give me FIA, Florida International Atlantic, +33.5 over University of Texas San Antonio. I'll take them +33.5. That's way too many points to be laying. I don't care who they're playing. Give me FIA. It's my Superdog. Pick up some points.
You didn't you merge 2 schools there?
Sure.
I know what game you're talking about though. I looked at it.
Brandon found your +7. It's on Ballsack Sports apparently.
Well, listen, while y'all doing pick 'em, I can look it up for you right now.
All right. So I'm going second.
Yes.
All right. First game. I'm going to pick Minnesota at Illinois. I'm taking the under 38.5. This could easily be a 10-7 game. I know Minnesota's getting Eberman back. Illinois' defense is great, and they struggle to score. They're a tiny bit more offensive than Iowa. This game screams like 17-10 or something like that for me. So I'm taking the under 38.5 in that game. Second game I'm taking Clemson -3.5 at Florida State. I can't keep. That's great. That could be any game in the world. I'm taking Clemson -3.5. I try to pick against them too much. I think they're the real deal right now. So I don't think they go to Tallahassee and lose this game. I just don't. I think they're a better football team. I think Florida State had a couple, I don't want to say lucky, but they kind of pulled a couple games out earlier in the year. They're still a little banged up for me. I think Clemson goes in and takes care of business. The last game was a game already previewed. I'm going to take Michigan -3.5 at home since we're making up lines. I'll take 3.5. Take Michigan. Gene trying to squeeze out that extra half point tells me all I need to know about who's going to win the football game. But I'll take Michigan -6.5. That's what it is on FanDuel right now. I think they're the better football team. I said that during my preview. I think Penn State has a couple bright spots on defense, but across the board offensively and in the war in the trenches, I think Michigan's just better. I think they're at home. May's out. I like Michigan to win by more than that, but they only got to win by 6.5. So that is my third game for the week. And Superdog, I didn't like any of them this week. I have to pick one because those are the rules. I'm going to pick Gene's favorite Whipping Boys, Vanderbilt, plus 39.5. I fully expect this game to be like 49-0 at halftime. I am praying for a backdoor cover somewhere. Maybe like Georgia puts in like the Water Boy and like maybe like some of like the male cheerleaders and lets them play some football. Maybe Vanderbilt scores that way. So that's what I'm hoping for there. But if not, I'm probably going to lose that. But I don't like any of the other ones. So I'm taking Vanderbilt plus 39.5.
Is Bet Rivers not a reputable site?
Do whatever you want to do, man. Take 7, take 6.5, take 9. I don't care.
I'm just asking.
We talk about FanDuel and everything on here more than anything.
Is DraftKings a reputable site?
Bro, take whatever you want. Michigan's going to win the game.
I'm just asking. But I'm just asking, is DraftKings? You said I'm making lines up. I went on 4 different sites. The only one that has them at 6.5 is FanDuel. I went on 4 different sites.
All right, that's the one I was looking at. That was 6.5, so I was accurate with what I said.
And FanDuel, by the way, Georgia's a 38-point favorite, not 39.5. So you just made up a 1.5. FYI.
That's what it was earlier.
Okay, well, listen, don't talk about making.
All right, so what is it now? What is it now?
It's 38.
Fine, 38 is what it is. I'll take 38. Whatever it is right now, as time we're recording the show, that's what I'll take. Michigan's still -6.5. I'm taking that. And whatever the hell Georgia Vanderbilt is, 38 according to Gene. I'll take Vanderbilt plus 38. There you go.
I don't like being accused of making lines up when I pulled it up on Bet Rivers, DraftKings, and just proved it.
All I said is that it was 6.5 when I was looking at FanDuel. You're like, that's not true. That's not true.
You corrected me. I'm saying it's 6.5 on some sites, 7 on other sites. If I was betting the game, wouldn't I find the best spread I could find? Okay. I'm not going like to some rinky-dink website to find the spread. I'm going to real websites to find the spread. Bet Rivers is PA Bet Rivers, and DraftKings is one of the sports books in the world. By the way, I just looked it up. William Hill has it at +7. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm just making shit up.
Take 7. I got it 6.5 on FanDuel. I'm sitting here staring at it. That's what I'm going. You're going with what you're going.
It's fine.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have much issues with, because if it lands on 7, it doesn't matter anyway because you both push. So
no, Bill gets a win. I'll push.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. But you guys done? Can I go over my picks now?
Yeah, bro. Let's hear it.
I know there's a lot of animosity this week. Michigan, Penn State. Real rivalry going on here.
It's a shame. It's a shame that there's not that animosity when Michigan plays Ohio State because you two pansies don't go at each other.
No, that's because settle down now. That's just because the past 2 years we've been going into the game fully expecting Ohio State to dominate, but then the first year Michigan bowed out, and then last year Ohio State.
Last year you got your asses kicked. I know
we did.
It's like polar opposites each year.
Hey,
Who knows?
Hey,
maybe
all I'm
saying
is
this year.
you didn't call that going into the game. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't know Ohio State was that soft. I couldn't have predicted that. Nobody could have.
Gene, you'll never hear me pander to those Wolverines over there. That's all I gotta say.
I'm super happy that Gene fought for his actual who he says is his actual team that hard. Because I was expecting him to roll over and be like, you did see how he fought back against Georgia though, because that's his real team. He's like, how dare you take an extra 1.5 away from my Bulldogs? I don't care what you do about Penn State. You're not taking away from your super dog pick of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Cottrell, go ahead. Let's get your pick 'em so we can screen cap it for TikTok.
I got you. First game I like. We talked about this team a lot already. We didn't preview their game, but that's okay. I like Texas minus 16.5. Quinn Ewers is back. They're going to roll against Iowa State. Iowa State can't score, and Iowa State doesn't have a great defense. Quinn Ewers is going to throw the ball all over the yard against them. I like Texas to roll in that one. They win by 21 plus. I like Florida -3 versus LSU. This will be Brian Kelly's first trip to the swamp as the head coach of the LSU Tigers. And we just saw LSU lay an egg at home against that Tennessee team. Granted, Florida isn't what Tennessee is, but Florida runs the ball very well. They have a quarterback that can run the ball very well. LSU struggles to stop the run, and LSU can't consistently get the run going. Going into the swamp, I think you'll have to have an effective run game or at least be able to stop the run. LSU can't do either consistently. I like Florida to win by more than 3 points in that one. The last game I got, I'm going up against Gene in this one. I have Arkansas -1.5 at BYU. The only reason why this spread is as low as it is right now is because there's still a question mark around KJ Jefferson. I think KJ Jefferson will be back this game, and I think he plays, and I think that Arkansas team, they win this game by at least a touchdown. I like how Arkansas looks when KJ Jefferson is there, and if he's there, he adds obviously a completely new dynamic to that team. And so I think Arkansas can go into BYU, and they can go in and win that game by more than 1.5 points. And then my super dog, I like Texas State plus 15.5 versus Troy. Texas State is a team that's coming off of a win last week against an Appalachian State team who earlier in the year we were talking about should be ranked. You know, this Troy team, yes, they do have a good record, but they've also lost. They also lost to Appalachian State earlier this year. I think Texas State is more than capable of staying in this game and potentially finding a way to win. So I like them at plus 15.5.
Love it. Loving it, Cottrell. Loving it. That's your super dog. That's NCAA pick 'em. Let's move on. We are already at like 8:50. Let's get into NBA, boys. Let's get into NBA. Might watch the last few innings of this Phillies game that's tied at 0-0.
15 innings, hopefully.
That'd be I would get to watch a whole 7 innings. But all right. So what I did this year is I have coach of the year, most improved, defensive player of the year, sixth man of the year, rookie of the year, MVP, and then finals prediction.
I got all
Cottrell,
of that. I'm with you.
Cottrell, do me a favor. I want you to give me the order. Start with the order. Start with an award, and then you'll go. Bill will go. I'll go. I'll give an award. I'll go, you'll go, Bill will go, Bill will give an award. Very simple, little rotating wheel, which we want to go for first. So what do you want to attack first?
I'll start with the bench. Give me sixth man of the year.
Okay. Who's your sixth man of the year?
My sixth man of the year is a guy who I think might not win the award because he might turn out to be a starter down the road. I like John Wall of the Los Angeles Clippers to be sixth man of the year. I know he's coming back from injury. I know people don't think that he can still play anymore. He showed some pop in the preseason games, and I don't want to put too much stock into that. That just showed me that he still can play basketball. I think in limited minutes, as long as he stays healthy, I think he's on a team that he can buy into, and they have goals and aspirations of winning a championship. So I like John Wall to go in and be a perfect piece for that Los Angeles Clippers team.
Bill?
I don't like going chalk per se with a lot of these sometimes, but this one I'm going to just because I genuinely think he's going to win the award. I think Jordan Poole is going to win the six-man award. He's kind of on the verge of being a superstar in his own right, and he's just not going to start on that team because he plays behind Steph and Clay. He also gets a chance to run with the ones, I think, more than a lot of other people do because he is, he can kind of put him in there and not miss a beat. And they also blow teams out, so he gets more minutes than a lot of these other guys are going to. So for all those factors and just the pure numbers he's going to put up, I'm gonna go with Jordan Poole.
I got Malcolm Brogdon of the Boston Celtics. I think that he'll take a lot of minutes. I think he'll end up being on the court when they go small. I think he'll play a ton of minutes, but he won't start. So I think Brogdon will do great for Boston, and I think he'll win sixth man of the year if it's not Jordan Poole. I didn't want to go too chalk, but Jordan Poole is a very good pick there, all things considered. I want to go to rookie of the year. I have two. I have a favorite and I have a dark horse. So Cottrell is going to love my dark horse. I got Paulo Banchero winning Rookie of the Year. I think he'll play the most. I think he'll have the most time. I think the offense will be centered around him. I think he's the best player coming out of the draft. But there's a player in this draft that I feel like was, I didn't give him his credit until I really watched him play. And he played well in the summer league. And I don't care what Popovich does. Putting him on fourth in the depth chart, I think he's going to get a ton of playing. And that's Malachi Branham, from Ohio State that went to San Antonio Spurs. He is 60-1 to win. I think the Spurs are tanking. I think that means Branham gets a ton of minutes, and he's an efficient scorer. He's a 6'5" guy. He's fluid, can score, can get to the rim. I love him at 60-1. So I'm sprinkle a little bit on Branham at 60-1. And for the next, Rookie of the Year, Cottrell. Cottrell, yes.
So my Rookie of the Year, I was torn. I wanted to go with Paulo, but I think it's going to end up being Keegan Murray. I like Keegan Murray to win it. He's on a Kings team that I don't think is going to be a very good team. Obviously, the Kings are never good. That's why they got the longest playoff drought right now. But I think he's already shown that he is very much NBA ready. And going into the draft, I thought him and Paulo were the two most NBA ready players. And they've been able to show that so far in the preseason and the summer league. I think Keegan is going to get a lot of love in Sacramento right now because he's really their true number 2 option with right behind De'Aaron Fox. And who knows what ends up happening with De'Aaron Fox, because I do think a lot of teams are going to be tanking to try and get Victor. So I think Keegan Murray is going to have a lot of chances in Sacramento, and he's going to have his hands on the ball a lot. He can put the ball in the bucket. So I like Keegan to win the award.
Shall
I kind of agree with Gene. Again, I didn't want to go. I went chalk with some of these. Some of them I didn't. This is one of the ones I didn't. I think odds are Paulo probably wins this award. But for tonight, I also picked Keegan Murray from Sacramento, and I picked it for a lot of the reasons Cottrell just mentioned. I think he's going to be pretty much just put on the floor and told to go play and do his thing and be De'Aaron Fox's, running mate and go learn and get experience and just go do your thing. I think he's going to be able to play very freely down there because I don't think there's any expectations for that team whatsoever. So, I think he can go out and just be himself and put up numbers. Not that I'm rooting against Paulo or anything like that, but I think it'd be cool to see somebody like that win it. So I'm just going to go with Keegan Murray. He's plus 450. I think he's tied for 2 or tied for 3, third favorite on the board. So I'm going with Keegan Murray.
Only reason I didn't go with Keegan Murray or Jaden Ivey, who is one of my favorite players coming out, is I think they're both in crowded backcourts. I think they play too limited of minutes. Like I really looked at who's going to play the most overall minutes when I did it, and I really think that Paulo is going to be. I just feel like with Davion Mitchell and De'Aaron Fox, that Keegan's going to struggle for playtime. That's my only issue there.
Keegan's not a guard, though. Keegan's a 4, so I think he'll be on the court with those guys. I think he's the perfect piece to run with them. He can stretch the floor and he can run up and down the floor. So if you throw out Fox and you throw Mitchell out there too, I think that's a perfect complementary piece.
All right, next award, Shally.
Let's go with the big one. Go MVP.
Oh, really? Who's got MVP?
I'm picking this, so probably means this isn't going to happen, but it's been controversial the last couple of years. It's been a close race. I think they give it to the big guy this year. I really do. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. Not a homer pick, but I think he's earned it the last 2 years. I think at some point, with all the public outcry from last year, I think he has just as good a year this year as he did last year. And I think the writers voted for him this year, and I think he finally takes it home.
I actually really want to lay real chalk on who I think is going to win MVP this year because I don't think it could be any clearer. I think it's Luka Doncic. I think Luka in offseason put himself in great shape. He looked incredible in the Euros. I think Luka Doncic dominates the league this year. I think he will win MVP, and I don't think it will be close. I think when March 1st, Luka Doncic will be a minus 2,000 favorite win MVP. That's my bold prediction for that. I know he's the favorite, so I'm going to go real bold on it when I say I think he'll be a minus 2,000 favorite to win MVP by March 1st. So
I'm going with another one of the favorites here. I got the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo winning this award. I typically am on the Luka train. I love Luka. Luka's one of my favorite players currently in the league right now. My issue with Luka is that him playing during the same period that Giannis is playing in, I really think, as much as Luka is a catalyst for that Dallas Mavericks team, Giannis does all that, obviously not the shooting aspect of it, but he does all that. And then he also does it on the defensive end. So I think Giannis being able to put all that together, Giannis is going to probably average 30, 14, 5, and a lot of blocks, get some votes for, defensive player of the year. So I like Giannis to recapture an MVP award this year.
Next category.
Let's go most improved player here.
Okay.
And my most improved player, you guys, well, Bill, you mentioned a 76er already. My most improved player this year for me is going to be Tyrese Maxey. I really think Maxey he's gonna fight for an all-star spot this year, and I think he gets it. I was a person that was more critical on him, going into last season. I didn't think he was the true number 3 on that team or true number 2, after Ben left or whatever. But I mean, he is that, and he's growing into that. He's comfortable, and you're seeing it in the preseason play that he's picking up right where he left off last year. So I think he gets most improved because he's going to be coming off of an all-star caliber season this year.
Shally.
I am going with Tyrese Maxey as well, for a lot of the reasons Kachel just said. I think he's like the 3rd or 4th biggest favorite to win it. I think he takes that next step. That kid's shown me everything I've wanted to see out of him so far. He continues to get better every time you see him. I think he takes the next step this year as well. And I think he becomes the bona fide, second superstar on this team by the end of the year. I really do. And it's going to be interesting. I think the Sixers are going to have an interesting year. I mean, we'll get into that probably more next week, but I have him for most improved, and I think he jumps into the superstar pool this year. I really do.
I'm buying into the hype. I think that the NBA started something last year with somebody that they want that was really jumped into the MVP race, that they didn't think he'd be in the MVP race, and they gave him most improved player, which was Ja Morant. I think the same thing happens this year. I think Zion Williamson jumps into the MVP votes and finishes 3rd or 4th for MVP, and Zion Williamson wins most improved player of the year. I think he comes back. I think he's in great shape. He looks awesome. I think he's dominating people. I think he lives up to the hype that he once should have. So I got Zion Williamson. Let's move on to Coach of the Year, and I'll start with Coach of the Year. I got Willie Green, New Orleans Pelicans. I think Willie Green is in a good situation with C.J. McCollum, Zion Williamson, and Brandon Ingram. So give me Willie Green.
Is it on me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think that he's the best coach in the NBA by any means or anything like that. But I think what the Grizzlies do with him at the helm, I think it's going to be special this year. I think the Grizzlies can end up as one of those overachieving. They're one of those like try hard teams. Not necessarily saying that they're just like Utah, but Ja Morant is going to be in the thick of it for MVP again this season if he stays healthy. He's a special talent, and he's going to have the Grizzlies fighting to win. And the good thing about the Grizzlies is that they play together. So I think the Grizzlies win a lot of games. I think that's kind of going to be reflected on the votes that Taylor Jenkins get for Coach of the Year.
So I'm gonna pick somebody else, and Connor for the same reason. I'm gonna go with Mike Malone from Denver. I think he's gonna get Jamal Murray back, which is huge. We already know about Joker, and he's going to get Michael Porter Jr. back. I think Denver has the ability to probably peak out maybe challenge Golden State for the 1, but if not, I think they're in the fight for the 2 or 3 seed at the end of the year if they stay healthy. So for those reasons, I'll go with Mike Malone from Denver. So what do we have left?
Defensive Player of the Year.
Go Defensive Player of the Year. I picked this one more of a long shot down the board. I picked this solely for entertainment purposes, even though he's a great defender. But I just want to see Gene's face get red one more time. So I'm going with Ben Simmons from Brooklyn, plus 2,700. Long shot, sprinkle a little seed money on that one and see what happens. I think he's healthy. Listen, his defense was never was nothing we called into question when he was here. I think he's going to go to Brooklyn. He's going to average about 18 assists a game, 4 points, and play good defense. So I'll go with Ben Simmons.
Good try. You go second for this one.
I'm going with Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat. Bam protects the rim. Bam has shown that he can guard players on the perimeter. I think Bam he's the catalyst with Jimmy Butler to that Miami team, especially defensively. And we've seen Bam has the capabilities to guard a guy like Giannis. So if you can do that and hold those guys on the tough nights, I think that's important, and that's how you're going to get votes. So I got Bam winning it.
I claim to be a very unbiased person. There's nobody in the league I hate more than Ben Simmons. For defensive player of the year, the odds are just too good. Give me Ben Simmons, plus 2,700.
You just ruined the show.
It's fine. Listen, I think that he'll play all year. I think he's sitting out the whole year. I think he's highly motivated to come back, and I think the one way he can really affect the team is on the defensive end of the ball. I think he'll lock down players constantly, the 1 through 4 positions, and I think he'll win Defensive Player of the Year. I really believe that, and I think the odds are insane. I think everybody should sprinkle $20 on that.
I was shocked when I looked at it last night and, saw Giannis, and I think JoJo was even 5th. I had to click see more to go down to find him, and I was shocked he was that low. And at that point, I was like, it's I hate to say it, but it's kind of disrespectful.
I think a big part of that though is that
I hate Ben Simmons, but they're thinking he won't play.
Yeah,
exactly. You thinking he won't play, or thinking that he gets traded somewhere during the season and he's not locked in. If he's not on a team that's contending for the playoffs, how much effort is he really going to give you defensively if he's even going to play? So I think that's really what they're kind of honing in on.
NBA Finals predictions. I'll go first because I want y'all to laugh at me, and I don't mind. I have a wild NBA fun. You picking the Cavs?
Maybe.
No, it's the only way I'd laugh at you. For the Eastern Conference, I think that there's one team that has more depth than any team in the NBA, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. I think the Philadelphia 76ers go to the finals this year. I think the depth that they added with PJ Tucker, with I'm forgetting the guy's name from Memphis. I'm losing my mind. But with DeAnthony Melton, I think that Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, they have more depth than any team in the Eastern Conference. For the Eastern Conference, I'll take the Philadelphia 76ers. And for the Western Conference, this is way out there. This team didn't make the playoffs last year. Give me the New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. I think that team really gets it together this year. Willie Green, I think they go on a great run. I think injuries plague a few teams. I think New Orleans comes out on fire. They land the 2 seed in the Western Conference, and I think they go to the NBA Finals. And I think the finals, you see the Philadelphia 76ers versus the New Orleans Pelicans. And I'll take the Philadelphia 76ers in 6 games over New Orleans to win the NBA.
You want me to go or you want to go?
I guess I'll go because I got some craziness too. Gene, I'm fine with you picking the Sixers. I think they're talented. I think they can make the finals. But I think on paper, the deepest roster in the East is Boston. They were deep last year and they just added Malcolm Brogdon. But
who's the best player between the two teams?
Dude's hurt more than Ben Simmons is.
Joel Embiid.
Okay, so you have the best player on the 76ers. You have 9 players deep that you can go on the bench. Matisse Thybulle is going to be your 9th man now instead of your 6th man. You have Maxey, you have Harden, you have PJ Tucker, you got DeAnthony Melton. That team is loaded,
No,
bro.
I mean I hear you, but
Daniel
it's the
House.
same. It's the same with.
Damn, no
Okay.
Toby love already.
It's the same with
Toby.
Boston though. When you get in, I mean, you talk about Melton, you talk about Peyton Pritchard. You know,
Who's
but
the Boston Celtics center?
Al Horford, Robert
It
Williams.
ain't slowing down Joel Embiid. Period.
I mean, that's
Ain't
no, like I
slowing him
said, that's fine. I just think depth wise, I like the quality of Boston's players a little bit more. Philly's going to be special. I think James Harden is bought in. I think he's going to be great.
Boston's players are sleeping with executives. We can't have that shit.
Fair enough. And I know how much you guys hate Boston, so I'm just going to leave that at that. But for me, as much as I just hyped up Boston and talked about how much I like the Sixers, I'm not picking them, either one of them, to make the finals this year. For me, I'm going with the team that has the guy who I think wins MVP, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think the Bucks would have made the finals last year if Chris Middleton hadn't gotten hurt, and if they stay healthy this year, I think they're my favorites to make it out of the Eastern Conference. And then on the West, I got to go with the team that didn't make the playoffs either, and I struggled here. I wanted to pick the Clippers. I wanted to pick the Warriors. Give me the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to trade Russell Westbrook before the trade deadline, and they're going to make it to the finals. But with that with that said, I like the Bucks in 5 over the Los Angeles Lakers in the finals.
Can we make a bet?
What's the bet?
I took a team that didn't make the playoffs. You took a team that didn't make the playoffs. Whatever team makes it further. I'll take New Orleans. You take the Lakers.
Fair enough.
Let's make a bet.
That's a good bet.
Assuming health, though, because if Zion he tears his hamstring before,
same thing.
Or if LeBron
I can't
is
say
out
assuming.
or AD is out.
No, I don't want to go assuming health because the Lakers are going to fall apart. And I love that you assumed health because street clothes Anthony Davis will be on the bench. And I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. No, not assuming health.
Tin Man Davis guaranteed to miss 25 games. You got LeBron who's going to be 40 out there playing 75 games a year. Freaking Anthony Davis suits up for 40.
But I mean, if Zion tears his meniscus, though, the Pelicans are going to be a 12 seed. So,
well, then that's what a risk I have to take. Are you willing to take that risk?
If you want to take it, I'll take it.
I mean, I kind of agree with Gene. I mean, injuries happen. I mean,
that's fine. I'm just saying.
I think
both teams have the history.
Agreed. So I mean, I think you're both going in with risk there. I think it's a cool bet. I think it's a fun bet.
Yo, Brett's got the Anthony Day-to-Day Davis.
Facts.
I love it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Bro, you want to talk about a team that's got massive depth with New Orleans, bro. I looked at their depth chart earlier, and I just want to read this out loud just because I'm so high on them right now. And I know that I'm looked at like nuts to having them so high. CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Herbert Jones, Zion Williamson, and Valanciunas as their starters. Their backups are Jose Alvarado, Devontae Graham, Trey Murphy, Larry Nance, and Jackson Hayes, with Willie Herman-Gomez as their 11th guy. They got Jackson Hayes. Like that team, Devontae Graham, I said him already, but that team is loaded with good basketball players. Yeah, Bill, I'm sorry.
You're all right. So like Cottrell, and I mean, I don't know who other the other teams that Gene was boiled down to, but for the East, for me, it came down to 2 teams. I do not think Boston repeats what it did last year. I think with all the turmoil, you got a brand new coach who's never coached before. I don't think they have the year they had last year. I just don't. I just don't see it. I think Jimmy Butler, as much as I love him, I know Gene loves him. He's still another year older. They lost PJ Tucker directly to us. This boils down to Philly and Milwaukee for me for the East. I don't trust James Harden one goddamn bit. I just don't. But I do believe in Tyrese Maxey. I do believe you're going to get to Toby that you saw in the playoffs. And the biggest thing for me is Gene nailed it right in the head. As much as I love Giannis, I'll put my money on JoJo. And Milwaukee just doesn't match up with us well. They just don't. Every time we play them head-to-head in a big game, JoJo goes nuts. I will take the Sixers to advance to the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference. That being said, me being optimistic on the Sixers, probably going to lose 60 games. For the West was tough for me, man. I did give some thought in New Orleans just because, again, I think if Zion can stay healthy, watching Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum play last year, they were tough, man. They were tough. I love Memphis. I love what they did there with Ja and Brooks and all those guys. And those kids love playing together. We gave them all the love in the world last year. Like Cottrell, I kind of wanted to pick. I almost talked myself into picking the Clippers. I really did. But I had like that little gene emoji on my shoulder, like in the back of my head. Just kind of like you don't bet on, bad football teams to make you money. I can't bet on people that are hurt all the time to get my team to the finals. And as much as a good season I think John Wall's going to have, I don't know if I can bet on him in a futures bet to stay healthy and get the Clippers there. Then you have Denver. Is their big three enough to beat Golden State? I don't think it is. I'm going to say Golden State goes back to the finals, assuming Draymond doesn't punch any more people on his own team. But, I mean, who the hell knows? I'm going to go Sixers versus Golden State in the finals. And I'm going to say that JoJo not only wins the MVP, he wins his first ring as a Sixer. Sixers win their first championship since 1983. And they win it in 7 games at home in front of the Philly crowd. And the Sixers are your 2023 champions.
You guys give me so much about being a homer. Bill's got a Sixer winning MVP, winning Most Improved, going to the finals, winning the finals. I mean, what is this? What is
come
this?
on.
You pick LeBron.
Bro, I know. Yeah.
That's my MO.
LeBron 52.
Make it Bill's MO.
Play with Tin Man out there.
Can I ask y'all a question real quick? I'll do what you asked me to do. But can we skip the Mount Rushmore this week and get to You Got to Be Kidding Me so I can watch the end of this Phillies game? Because it's the bottom of 6th inning, a 0-0 game. Are y'all okay with that?
Wheeler apparently just drilled Acuna.
Yep. Can we skip that for this week and we'll go over it next week?
I'm good with it. Well, next week's show's loaded too, but yeah.
I feel you, but like this is like one of those times we're at 2 hours and 17 minutes at this point. I feel like that it's not even going to upload to the Spotify if we don't cut it off soon because this file is too big. Let's just move to You Got to Be Kidding Me if you're all right with that.
That's fine.
All right, awesome. Thank you. You Got to Be Kidding Me this week. Cottrell, start us off.
All right, so my You Got to Be Kidding Me has a couple different parts to it. This week for me, it's Devontae Adams. So following their loss to the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, Devontae Adams is leaving the stadium, or leaving the field, I should say. And on his way out, a photographer walks in front of him and he pushes him to the ground. And after, the night is over, he gives the apology in his press conference. He gives an apology on Twitter. And the following day comes and the cameraman has filed a lawsuit. And, he's pressing charges against Devontae Adams. So I've been seeing on these different media outlets that they're saying, oh, this is a money grab. I see players like Adrian Amos saying, it's not that big of a deal. He pushed him. Yeah, he shouldn't have done that, but he got right back up. That's not the point of it. You shouldn't be putting your hands on people, especially, a guy like that. He's not an equipment. He didn't do anything to you. He's just there literally doing his job. And, these players would feel a completely different way if they were walking off the field and they lost the game and a fan of their team was just angry and they just pushed them to the ground, and it wasn't necessarily their fault, but, they were in their way. They were frustrated and they pushed to the ground. They didn't have this fan arrested and kicked out the stadium for life. So for me, it's the coverage of it. I fully expect Devontae Adams. I think he should be, at least. I fully expect Devontae Adams to be suspended for 1 game. They got to set an example out of it. You can't go around pushing people that are working in the stadium just because you're mad that you lost the football game. So for that, this week for me, Devontae Adams.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
I'll tell you what annoyed me the most about it, to be quite honest. I don't mind that he went on Twitter and apologized, but the way he ended the tweet of saying like, "Oh, I hope he sees this," like, dude, like you're you're a big enough deal that somebody could have got you that guy's name and number, and you could have like called him or texted him personally. Like when you just like nonchalantly throw it up on your Twitter feed and go, "Oh, hope the guy sees this." Like one of his friends follows him on Twitter and goes, "Oh, look, Devontae apologized to you." It was so half-assed to me, like it really was.
And the part that really bothered me the most too was that this is very out of character for Devontae Adams. Like he has no history of this. Devontae does a lot of charitable things, and he seems like all around good person. And I don't want to just throw him to the wolves or anything like that. But the way this is being handled by everybody is I would have expected Devontae to say I shouldn't have done it. I'm fully accepting of whatever punishment comes my way, and just let that be that. If you want to gift the guy, either have a settlement with him for money or give him a signed jersey or whatever, just do something to recognize that, hey, you messed up. Be proactive and not reactive.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's totally, I think it's just a culmination of just the actual frustration he's had this year so far. But again, I mean, you just can't walk around and push people down. Just can't do it. I don't care who you are. So for this week, I'm about to change it, but I'm not going to. I'm going with Dave Robertson from the Phillies, pulling his calf muscle, celebrating a Bryce Harper home run in the wild card playoff series. Now, usually I wouldn't bash a player for getting hurt. The only reason I'm going to use Dave Robertson is, if you're not familiar with the situation, 3 years ago, he signed a 2-year deal worth like $30 million for the Phillies, pitched a whopping like 7 innings, and then his arm got hurt. He had to have Tommy John. Didn't play that year. Didn't play the following year. So he pretty much pitched 7 innings in 2 years from us and got $30 million from the Phillies. Now we turn around. We traded for him to come bring him back this year. Didn't pitch badly when we had him. But now we're going into the playoff series again against Atlanta, and we don't have his services because he's gimping around after jumping up and down too feverishly in the dugout celebrating a home run. The amount of money that this guy has siphoned from the Phillies is disgusting. I don't care if he has to go out there and pitch off his knees. He better get his ass back on the mound and throw strikes for the Phillies.
Jesus.
Or maybe he can go play first base because apparently Rhys Hoskins can't field a goddamn ground ball again, and that's why we're losing 1-0. I don't know. Either one of those things doesn't matter to me, too. So that is this week's my You Got to Be Kidding Me.
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
Fucking Rhys Hoskins. God damn it.
Yo, mine is the NFL referees for number one, not tackling Tom Brady is a fail in the NFL now. That's absolutely a joke. What happened to Atlanta was disgusting. And then last night, what I think was even worse, the Chiefs strip sacked Derek Carr, got the ball, and then used his arm to protect the landing so he didn't land on him, and got called for a personal foul. It's got to stop. Put flags on him at this point. If you're going to pull a flag, then. But I understand protecting quarterbacks, but you have to be able to tackle them in the NFL. Like, that's an absolute joke that got called personal foul on Atlanta, who was coming back in that game versus Tom Brady. And then last night again, 2 calls. This one being on primetime. The Chiefs fans, let them have it. They were going off last night. They were booing for a quarter and a half about how bad that call was. They're both pathetic calls. The NFL needs to get this fixed, and I can't take it anymore. So for that, this week, the NFL referees, come on, you got to be kidding me. All right, guys, good show. Any final thoughts?
I had one real quick. Well, really 2. Deontay Wilder is fighting on Saturday. I think he's going to look amazing. He's always box office when he's fighting. Unfortunately, it's not against Tyson Fury. Well, fortunately for him, so he doesn't have to lose. But that's going on. And then the other thing is, somehow, some way, so many messed up things happened this week. Draymond Green kind of slipped through the cracks. I know we sprinkled it in there during the NBA, but him punching Jordan Poole was insane. And I'm curious to see what the NBA actually does about it. Does he get suspended? What happens? But Bobby Portis had the tweet of the day so far. He said, "It's okay when they do it. It's a problem when I do it," referencing when he broke Nikola Mirotic's jaw when they were both playing in Chicago. It was hilarious, but Draymond Green, you get an honorable mention. Come on, you got to be kidding me for that.
I'm not trying to be smart when I say this, but Draymond Green, that stuff happens constantly in practices. I think the bigger you got to be kidding me is the footage that got leaked from their internal practice. Like, that can't happen, man. You know the rules with the stories from Jordan punching Steve Kerr in practice, smacking Luke Longley in the back of the head. This stuff happens in locker rooms everywhere. Todd Pratt of the Phillies used to punch people in the Phillies locker room constantly. He was the enforcer for the team. If they did something that you shouldn't have done, you get punched in the face by Todd Pratt. At the end of the day, there's a million different things that you can use. But the biggest you got to be kidding me is that footage can't get leaked. Jordan Poole was talking a lot of shit, and Draymond Green punched him in the face. And to be perfectly honest with you, Brandon wants to Mount Rushmore. We'll get it to you next week.
Well, it's more down 3-0 now because Reese Hoskins sucks. Yeah. I mean, apparently that kid got a ton of money for that, though. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
But Warriors got to do a better job keeping that in house.
No, we can't.
No.
It's 2.5 hours and done. Listen,
so
you got to be kidding me is going to be the fact that Cottrell didn't mention this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to take care of her. So, one of our biggest fans, our biggest supporters, she's on this board all the time. I believe her birthday was 2 days ago, but show has to recognize one of their biggest fans. Your goddamn mother-in-law, Cottrell, way to drop the ball here. Happy birthday to Tiny Williams. We love you. Thank you for always bringing the passion and all the enthusiasm every week on the boards. We share your love and Trash and Baker Mayfield, but honestly, that we thank you for all your support. And it's just thank you for all the enthusiasm and all the passion you bring every week and being, you're on here every single weekend. So honestly, happy birthday from the bottom of my heart. I hope you had a great day.
Happy birthday, Tiny. You're awesome.
And I told her.
Yes. Yeah, you told her. You embarrassed to say it on air, though. Worst.
Well, for that, this is show 105, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, signing out. Thank you guys very much for listening.